Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Did we talk? How'd you find that?
No, research.
Oh man, you really do your homework on
Welcome
this show.
to the Shanni Show.
I gotta be careful what's on the internet.
You have a lot on the internet. Don't worry. I mean, listen, if it makes you feel any better, there's no way anyone can consume all your content.
Great.
It's like physically impossible. It's like finishing Netflix.
Nor would I want anyone to do that.
You're like, please don't.
So much.
Yeah, you played everywhere.
I played and after NFT NYC, I played at this club in the Jersey Shore.
Oh, what?
In Atlantic
you played
City.
in the Jersey Shore?
It was
That's
nuts.
hilarious.
They go hard, exactly like the show.
Was it a bunch of like Guidos or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Yeah.
Guidos, Guidettes.
Guidette, yeah.
It was wild.
I used to love that show.
Oh my God. It's back on.
I know. They have the family reunion or whatever.
Yeah, they have kids now. And
I'm a very active like Facebook reality TV fan.
What's Facebook reality TV?
At least I was once. There's just a lot of communities, like a lot of Facebook groups that are like reality TV fans, which I'm an admin of.
Wow.
Hold on. Wait. There we go.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Wardrobe malfunction is fine. Okay, but speaking about TV, let's start with The Amazing Race, please. Because
we on? Are we live?
Yeah, we're on. We're live.
Oh man, let's go.
It's happening. Shit just starts here.
All right, let's go.
So not only were you on The Amazing Race, but you won The Amazing Race, which I spoiled the finishing for me at like midway through the season. I Googled some shit and I was like, oh, they won. And then I was so much more invested in it after that. Explain to me what that experience was like for you, because that's a crazy show to go on.
Insanity. Absolute insanity. So a little backstory. I was a huge fan of The Amazing Race.
Wait, sorry. Pull this down just a little bit. Yeah. So we see your face.
Block.
There we go.
Oh, don't block those teeth.
Yeah,
my parents spent good money on braces
the money
when I was
maker.
16, so come on. Yeah, huge fan of The Amazing Race. I think it's one of the best reality shows, that's ever been produced. I auditioned 5 times.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And the first couple times involved sleeping on the sidewalk, like for the cattle call casting. So me and my ex, my girlfriend at the time, drove to San Francisco, slept on the sidewalk. You finally get through the queue like 8 hours later. They come in, they're like, state your names. I'm like, Matt. She's like, and then they're like, okay, thanks, bye. And we're like, wait, that's all. We got to say like 20 seconds of why we should be on the show. Cut, great. We did this 5 times. And finally we were like, all right, might be time to give up. Like, we're wasting a lot of time, a lot of gas money here. Sleepless nights on sidewalks. It's not a good look.
Was it always in San Francisco?
It's San Francisco, yeah. And then sometimes you could submit tapes too.
Okay.
And then they decided to have a social media all-star season of The Amazing Race. And I get an email and they're like, hey, have you ever heard of this great show called The Amazing Race? We're interested in having you on. And I was like, type my name into your database, however it works, like look me up. And they were like, oh, you've auditioned a couple times. And I was like, yes, bring me on the show. Like, we will win. I was so confident. And then I got on the show and I realized it's way harder than it looks. It's real.
It looks pretty hard. Does it not look insane? I think it looks crazy. All of those logistics to have to come together perfectly on each leg.
Yeah, and I mean, I've worked in television for a while, so I know how things look on TV, but then how they actually are. So I was like, they're going to like give us some nice steak dinners. Someone's to do our laundry. Like, maybe we'll run it back if a take isn't good. No, none of that. It's all real.
Wow.
Like, whatever you come with in your backpack on the first day, that's all you get for the month of taping. No laundry, no nothing, no good meals.
No laundry?
No laundry. We washed our clothes in the sink with soap bars.
Jesus.
Like the same, like 4 pairs of underwear. You just like, you're grinding. It's real. And, no take twos either. Like, whatever the host says, if he says something wrong, like, that's it. It is what it is. And so it really gave me a lot of respect, 1, for the show, but 2, it also helped me a lot in developing my own content to realize that level of, excellence is sort of achievable, and you don't need to do second takes. You don't need to run things back. Like, if you're prepared and you're on your stuff, then run it.
Yeah, that's, I guess, like what we were talking about before we just started here about live. I like live productions. My old podcast was all live. We did it all live on Facebook, and it doesn't give you the opportunity to be like, oh God, we got to clip that out, got to do this, got to do that, and it kind of forces you to really be concise, articulate, and on the ball, while you're performing, and also to forgive yourself and just let it flow and realize that you don't have to be perfect, which I think is really cool. Before we dive into this wonderful episode, I just want to take a minute to talk about our sponsor. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Man, I really wish I understood this stuff more. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, my personal favorite, esports, and even golf. People bet on golf? That must be thrilling. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Yeah, and it's been something that's really hard for me to let go. Honestly, I think it's one of my biggest struggles the last few years with content moving into a much more relatable type of format. I mean, anybody that was around 5-10 years ago knows that the goal was always kind of try to up the production to reach this level of like TV quality, right? Like even on YouTube and Instagram, we're always trying to like match this really high level of quality. And then a few years ago, this sort of wave came around that was like, no, it's so cool. It's okay to mess up. Can I cuss on this show?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
it's okay to fuck up. We all fuck up.
Yeah.
And like my TV background of like everything has to be perfect is always on my shoulder. Like, why are you letting people see the mistakes and stuff? And it's been a really big learning process for me, but I'm really starting to understand that I want to see behind the scenes. I want to see people's mistakes. And so why wouldn't people want to see mine as well?
Yeah, it is hard to come to accept that as a content creator. I have that same problem. I'm fidgeting with the subtitles, with this, with that, with the thumbnails, which if anybody's taken notice have changed so often on YouTube. I go back and like rearrange them. Yeah. And why? I look at the most successful pages out there and a lot of them don't give a shit. And a lot of them are just putting stuff out there, and it's about getting things out there consistently. And it's cool to hear that from someone like you, who I think a lot of people respect in the content space, especially in the dance space, obviously, to hear that they also struggle with that and that you're also struggling with that. That's really relatable. And I feel like that's something that anybody that's trying to create and put stuff out online needs to really come to terms with. It's like, it's a hard thing though.
Yeah.
What do you feel like has been that process for you?
Well, the biggest thing, like content creation, the one piece of advice that I would give to anybody that is creating content is you will never figure it out because it is not stationary. Like whatever it is constantly changing and constantly evolving. So whoever thinks like I figured out my format or I figured out my thumbnails or I figured out my editing style, whatever it is, it's not going to be that in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. And if you hold on to that, like we've seen now, YouTube, I've been on YouTube for 13, 14 years.
Crazy.
In 14 years, I've seen 3 or 4 generations of creators go from the top to obsolete, like gone, and I've seen this over and over. And then I've seen people that have been able to stay the course. Like a lot of my friends from Vine, King Batch, Lele Pons, Amanda Cerny, like they're still here and they're still crushing it. And why? Because they were willing to evolve and they were willing to try new things. And it doesn't matter if you're in dance, you're in finance, you're in comedy. The biggest thing is being willing to evolve. And what you were saying about thumbnails is really interesting. I battle with the same thing, right? Because on the one hand, you're like, just get the content out. Like, just make it, just move, make good stuff, have fun, keep going. And then on the other hand, you have a creator like Mr. Beast who will openly admit that his team and him spend 8 hours sometimes on one thumbnail for a video.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so stressful to me to hear.
Yeah.
That is not reassuring.
No. And on YouTube right now, the thumbnail is, I would argue that title and thumbnail are 80% of the success of your video.
Absolutely.
Because if people don't click on it out of that sidebar of things that they're suggested, you'll never get the opportunity for them to see the content, right? It's like if you're in a grocery store and your packaging sucks, nobody's going to taste your cookies to know that they're actually good. Like you need that strong thumbnail and title. But if you and I, who don't have 12-person teams of creative geniuses, spend 8 hours on every thumbnail, we'll never put a video out.
Yeah.
So it's a balance. I really think that it's a balance and it's a lot of trial and error. But the most important thing is just being a student always, seeing what other people are doing, seeing how the algorithm is changing, still maintaining your truth and what you want to put out, but doing it in a way that makes sense in the current format and the current trends.
It is a balancing act, finding those trends and also meshing it with your content. It's hard. What kind of trends do you feel like you've hopped on recently that have done really well?
Well, the biggest change is short form, right? Like
Right.
this concept of relatable, like we talked about, but short form content, like my dream, my favorite thing to do, was when I was choreographing long 3-4 minute, music videos or making these big production YouTube videos and dance videos, putting things on stage. Like I like longer format. I would rather work on a project for 2 weeks or a month and then see it come to life. But the market right now says that we want 15-second videos. And so, it's kind of like 1 for me, 10 for y'all at this point, because the time that it takes to do the ones I like is a lot more. And it's something that, again, like I have to be able to find joy now in making 15-second videos. I could fight the system, but it's like being like, I'm not going to put my music on Spotify. You have to go buy it in a CD store.
Yeah, right.
Well,
right.
that worked for people for like 2 or 3 years until all the CD stores closed down. And then the artists were like, all right, I guess you could put it on Spotify.
Now there's just like the remains of Tower Records everywhere.
Yeah, it's like the one standing blockbuster if you want to go rent a movie, It's like you can fight it to a point, but if you're able to find joy in also working with where the market is and where the consumers and where the viewers are, then you can find that win-win. So, for me, that's been a big compromise. Also, too, just leveraging sounds, leveraging songs. Like anyone that uses TikTok or Reels knows that they're primarily based on sounds right now.
Yeah.
And, if you're making finance content or any type of talking stuff, if you can find a way to put a trending sound that people like and people recognize behind it, instantly 5 to 10 times better chance of that video being shown to other audiences.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is like a lot of times the songs will re-go viral later on, and so then your video will start gaining more views just months later out of nowhere. So that also really helps. I've noticed for my reels, which is it's crazy how that happens. But do you create your own original sounds and then label them?
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Yeah.
I do a lot of remixes.
For your own music,
since
right?
I produce in my own songs. It's hard to get songs to pop. Like I would say I've had 3 or 4. I had a Billie Eilish remix 2 years ago that just went absolutely crazy on TikTok. Nice. It had like a million videos.
Made of that audio.
So it was like 10, 20 billion views to this remix, right? And so I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. They're just going nuts. The problem is when you make a remix or you put something like that on TikTok, it doesn't relate back to Spotify. Like it doesn't connect. You know what I mean?
Does it not?
No.
Original music though does, right?
Original music does in a way, but it's not counted the same. Like it's not counted as like a stream if someone listens to it on TikTok.
Right,
you know what I mean? But
does it not funnel people over? Because I've moved over. What's that I Am Woman song? That was like my anthem for a good week. It was such a basic bitch. But it was so good, and I found that from TikTok.
How did you get back to it? Did they have the link maybe in their bio?
Yeah, I think so. It was probably on Instagram because I don't think I was really active on TikTok then. I feel like I probably clicked through. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. They have to kind of make it easy to click through.
Yeah, it's not like you can just hear the sound, click it, and it just plays.
Yeah,
you know, you got to like funnel people through a link or whatever. So it's still a little tricky. But yeah, I mean, sounds, whether or not you're a music producer or whatever, the point is that sounds are a huge part of the algorithm right now, not on YouTube. YouTube has YouTube Shorts, which is something they're pushing really hard. And I've been talking with them a lot and really studying what's going on there because YouTube's always been my main platform. But
your backup channel for people has like a couple million subscribers. Your main one's at like 13, 14. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's changed so much, like that's what I'm saying. You can't get comfortable. The things that I was doing even 2 or 3 years ago, they don't work anymore,
But okay, with shorts on YouTube, so what have they been telling you that's been specific advice on grabbing onto their algorithm? Because they really don't run on sounds. They only let you do like 15 seconds or something, right?
Yeah. The main thing for shorts is that it's a completely different audience than your long form videos. So, in my mind at first, I was thinking, let me make shorts that my current subscribers will like. Let me reference like jokes or dances or things that my current family of followers understands. And then I started to realize, like, no, the people that are seeing these shorts have no idea who I am. They've never seen my content before. They're not my subscribers. And so it's more like, it's like making a TikTok. You're making a TikTok video that's hopefully going to get shown to new people that are then going to find your stuff, subscribe, and then enjoy your long form content, ideally. So it's not really it's not the same. Does that make sense? Like, even though the subscribers are all lumped together, it's almost like two different apps within YouTube, and your subscribers just get bunched into this number, but they're not the same people.
Such an interesting way to look at it, because now I guess the stuff I put out there is just, in terms of short form, is so people don't have to listen to the whole episode, because I really like listening to short clips of podcasts when I don't have time to listen to it all. So I guess, yeah, like if somebody's listening to the full episode, how much are they really getting out of a tiny clip of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost like your lure. You're like,
yeah.
Like, here's great bait. Moment. Come on. You want to listen to an hour?
Yeah.
No? Okay. All right. See you next week for another 15-second clip.
Yeah.
You know?
But even if you just come for the 15-second clip, you're still adding to the stats.
Exactly. And it's really, now it is a little bit more of a quantity over quality. You got a reel.
Oh my God, a reel.
You got. Oh no! Oh, that's what it was.
Wow, you got a reel. They're reeling us in for hours.
Oh my gosh!
Wow, I can't believe we just figured that out. The Instagram Illuminati.
They're after us now. All of our reels start getting 0 views after this goes.
There's one that I haven't uploaded to YouTube because it's just me and Leah. Like, I clipped all of our cancellation lines. I was like, there's like Jeffrey Epstein, coronavirus, lab leak, like all linked together, and I'm like, I can't put this out there on YouTube.
Yeah,
the one platform I skipped on, I'm like, they're gonna fuck up my channel forever. Okay, so wait, workflow, because workflow is something that I'm so fascinated by. So you do a ton of collabs. You guys film all of your dance stuff. Like, there's so much content coming out there from you guys. Do you always film like a long form 10-minute dance video and then clip that and use that choreography to make those 15-second? Or what's the workflow of all the different content? How does it happen?
The workflow in general is chaos. That's how I would.
As I'm asking this chaotic question, I'm like,
describe that basically. Yeah.
Sounds about
right. We
have
this discussion internally a lot.
Yeah. Do you guys talk about this as dancers?
Yeah. I mean, I have a team of like 4 or 5 guys videographers, editors, marketing, and we're always trying to be more efficient, because especially now I'm taking on music. You and I are both in the crypto and NFT space and doing a lot of things there. It gets harder and harder to make content consistently, and that's really what this game is a lot about. So efficiency is huge, and I used to do exactly what you're saying. I used to make 10-minute YouTube video, chop it down, post it everywhere. Great. People loved that. The problem is now that doesn't really work for dance. One, because if you're doing 10-minute long form, it's probably horizontal, and we really need dance videos now to be vertical, so you're dealing with a format issue. But also, you can do it to a point, but what you really need in order for a TikTok video, a reel, any short form to do well is you need a hook, you need a little bit of a body, and then you need a very concise like payoff at the end. It needs to be this very specific format. And so even if I'm doing 15 seconds of good dancing that I took from a clip and I just put it out there, it doesn't really work. I need to sort of strategize my dance videos a little bit more now. So we'll shoot, 1 or 2 longer form videos a week. But then a lot of these shoots are geared towards that 15-second format. Like right after this, I'm going to Santa Monica, collaborating with a good friend. Her name's Enola, incredible dancer.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
She's
phenomenal.
Amazing. Yeah, she's fantastic.
She's from Canada. She actually came and took my class like years and years ago. And, has always been a good dancer, but, just one of 150 people in a room, didn't even really notice. And then saw her again a couple years later. I was like, she's really good. And then she just started to blow up, and we started collaborating, and she's had an incredible year or two. But
when she was still back in Canada, I saw her video. That's when I first met you. I saw you guys together. That was how I kind of knew of you. Yeah. Was all of those videos. And her comments in the comment section when she was still back in Montreal were atrocious. It made me like her so much more, because I was like, what the fuck is wrong with all of you people? I hated them so much. Yeah. I was like, this girl is sick. You guys need to get a life. And then she came out to LA, and her dancing has just taken off. she's so good. I love when you guys collab. So, okay, so that's continue.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I have been really lucky with having a platform, you know, is that I have the opportunity to find people like Enola that are on their way up, that have put in the work, super talented, and help them build their platforms, you know, and build a relationship. And most of the kids, like anybody that watched my videos from like 5 or 10 years ago, you basically saw all of these choreographers and dancers grow up in my class. Like they started at 6 years old and they were just in big sweatpants and their haircuts were wild and they were just all over the place. And, you know, now they're some of the top choreographers in the world at 18, at 20 years old. And, you know, for me, it's a really proud moment to like see them choreographing award shows and doing things that, you know, it took me my whole career to do, and they're doing it at 16 and 18. I'm like, all right, go on, you know,
like,
kill
get
it. But yeah, and Enola's one of those. She's had the talent, she had the work ethic, and now she has the platform, and she's killing it. But back to workflow, not to get on a tangent. I just really love my students and my friends.
No. I honestly, I actually wrote down asking about your students because I think it's so fascinating, like Bailey and stuff. I know that you post that photo of you guys like 10 years apart or something.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I didn't realize how many of these people really came up with you from your tutorials, from your content, from your classes. It's really cool to see. Like that must be such a proud, almost like a fatherly moment, you know? Like these are, you know, they got raised with you through the dance world. It's really cool.
Yeah,
you
it's
impacted
something
such a
that
generation.
I didn't realize while it was happening. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm struggling. I'm new to LA, and these kids are coming in and they're like pretty good and they're cool and they're cute and they got funny outfits and they're like going off, you know, and I'm like, oh, you're dope. And I'm putting them in videos and the videos are doing better and better and better. And, you know, next thing I know, I'm like on these world tours and people are coming up and being like, I love Kenneth, I love Bailey. And I'm like, oh, you know, like the kids, you know, and it just sort of happened. And then like 3 or 4 years ago, I realized like, whoa, like every dancer in the world knows these kids, you know, and it wasn't just me. There were other choreographers that they were training with as well. But it's for me, it's one of the most rewarding things is to see people come up and now literally be running the industry. Like they are the future. They're taking over, you know?
They really are. I was talking to my little sister who took your class, and I didn't realize until I told her, I was like, oh, my friend Matt's a dancer. He has a class at that studio you love. You should go. And she's like, Matt Steffanina? And she told me, and honestly, I didn't realize the impact that you had on kids until she told me. She like grew up with you. Her and her little Jewish school friends, they would watch your tutorials, do the little things at school, learn them. And she's been dancing since she was like 2 years old. And so for her, yeah, and she always wanted to take your classes. She even called me before this episode. She's like, I can't believe you're having him on. I mean, she doesn't sound like that now. She's an adult, but she's a grown adult, but that's always her voice. But it is really cool. And to see that impact it's so powerful. Do you ever feel like pressure to have a cleaner image because your audience is so young?
I mean, yeah, for sure.
That's
why I'm like, can I cuss on this platform? Am I allowed to say?
You're not allowed.
Shit. I mean, you know, the good thing is now, like, how old's your sister now?
21.
Yeah.
You know, she's in college, like,
they've grown with me too. Like when I was young and dancing and creating these videos, like now everyone's 18, 20, 25, you know, so it's not that heavy of a pressure anymore. But, you know, at the end of the day, I still teach and I still teach kids and I still, you know, I have an online tutorial company, DNCR, where we teach.
Get ads for that all the time.
Hey, let's go. DNCR.com. Anybody wants to learn how to dance, you know, it's like all ages, all levels, everyone's welcome. It's a safe space to come and learn dance online type of thing. So, you know, I still have kids and families around and I try to be conscious of it. But, you know,
you also have to be yourself.
It's tough, right? Yeah, you know, I felt for a long time like I was on a Disney Channel without being on a Disney Channel show. You know, I was like, I had to watch what I posted, what I said, how much was I drinking at this party? Because the parents showed up, and I'm like, oh gosh, like I can't escape it, you know. And so yeah, I do feel a little responsibility to keep it. Decent.
Somewhat decent. But it is cool. It's true though. A lot of them have grown up with you, which is really quite cool now.
Well, now I see them at the club, and it's weird. They're like,
it's hilarious.
I was DJing this past weekend in New York, and like some girls came up and they were like, we used to watch your videos in like 5th grade. And I'm like, you were 11. And they're like, can we buy you shots? I was like, that's strange. I don't know.
That's too much.
Yeah, I don't know. But sure, whatever.
Go do your homework, kids. Yeah. Hilarious. Okay, so let's bring it back to workflow. So
that.
Toss it right back. So give me the idea. So let's say you want to go create your short. So are you filming all of these short forms in vertical? Like, are you guys doing them on, what cameras are you using? Because it looks like incredible quality.
Yeah, so I use an A7 III Sony.
Okay.
But the key is not necessarily the camera, it's the lens. So it's an 85 millimeter lens, 1.4, and that's what gives it that blur. That's what gives it that
depth,
high production effect.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's sort of been a cheat code the last couple years for dance is to have that lens. Now, all my friends texted me like a million times. You got to tell me what it is. You got to. And then we're like shooting and they're like looking at like what the numbers are. I'm like, I see you spying on my lens. Get out of here. So now,
That's hilarious. Are you trying to keep that a secret? That's hilarious.
Well, what happens is like you come up with something new and it's very hard to have anything proprietary in like social media. As soon as you do something like even a joke or anything, everyone's like instantly copying it the next 100%. Day, So I used to do I don't know if you've seen the things where I like track the faces.
Have I seen them? That's my favorite shit. I love that.
It looks like you're
the
floating
handprints
in the
with the ass
background.
cheek one choreography is like so. I mean, you've done it a few times, but I think it was like the first one. So good.
Yeah, you got to track. I actually manually have to track the booty.
That's
like frame by frame. You like track the cheeks.
That's crazy.
Science took years to perfect that. That one nobody has quite been able to copy because it's actually pretty difficult to do.
Yeah.
But like, anything like that, any idea that I come up with, a week later, every dancer on social media is like, thanks for the tip,
It's flattering, but it's like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's weird culturally, etiquette-wise, in art, any form of art, I would say like 3 to 5 years ago, it was very frowned upon to copy anything anyone did, right? Like even in comedy, like if you took someone's joke and kind of evolved it and people could trace it back to the original, they were like, hey, get out of here, man. Dancing, like you would never do someone else's dance unless you went to the class, learned the choreography from them or a tutorial online.
Oh,
you would never like see a dance online and then do it and then be like, hey, I learned your dance. Like people would be like, why are you doing my dance? Like that's my dance.
Really?
Absolutely.
Well, I didn't realize it was like that.
Shunned from the industry if you like were copying other people, even crediting them.
Even crediting them?
No, it was like, don't do my, did you come to the class? Like, don't do my stuff, bro. I was never like that. I was always like, learn my stuff, put it whatever. But that was sort of the nature of the industry. And now that's all people do is copy other people's stuff, and it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just a shift. It's very interesting.
Well, it is weird to me when, like, it's so strange. Sometimes I put out a reel, like this stupid guacamole game reel got like 64K views, and then my meaningful reels that take so long to make get like fucking 10K or whatever. And it's like this guacamole game that everyone's playing. But why are people wanting to watch whatever? Like, it makes no sense to me. It just makes no sense how that kind of like the copy paste thing works so well right now.
I don't get it.
So well.
I know.
It's in dance though. It kind of makes more sense to me because the choreographies are really cool. I feel like it's like using someone's song in a way to spread their song and virality.
How many times do you want to see people do the same dance?
Maybe I'm not like dying to see it that often.
2 or 3. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm curious how this person did it. Like I get it.
Yeah.
But after like a week, I don't know. It's very foreign still to me, the concept.
But it does help discover new choreographers, like that Regina person from that what's that one dance song? Do you know what I'm talking about? What's her name? She's from the UK. Regina. She did that one that's like da, 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 da.
I'm the worst.
I'm the worst. That was me trying to do dance, guys. Yeah, I don't know the dance, but like I only discovered her from that because everybody did that dance and it just went so everywhere all over Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an awareness mechanism.
It's the thing that's interesting about it is that choreographing a TikTok and choreographing are 2 very different things.
Yes, that is factual.
And because in TikTok, primarily you're recycling like the same 20 moves, right? You're just sort of reorganizing them, maybe a couple new things. But this really interesting thing happened sort of over the pandemic when these TikTok videos and TikTok choreographers blew up where brands, they don't really know. So they would just be like, oh, let's hire that guy off TikTok to choreograph our commercial, our thing or whatever. And the amount of calls that I would get that was like,
save us.
3 days into the shoot, it was like, hey, listen, Matt, the boom, boom, clap, clap thing you did was great, but really struggling on set. Can you come by?
That's
and I was
hilarious.
like, guys, like, what? you know, it's not no shade. Like it's just a different skill. You know, like you're talking about running a set and a shoot and multiple dancers and formations and blocking for 7 different cameras and lighting and how is this going to look? All these things versus like in my bedroom doing 15
one camera,
seconds,
one angle.
And it's like that with every art form, you know, it's totally different. And it really is a huge level up, but I think it's great. Like I was started in my bedroom, you know, that's like where I didn't start in a dance studio.
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen your early
in Virginia,
videos.
you know, like if you really take time to go back to 2007.
All you have to do is sort by.
Yeah. Don't tell people that trick. We don't want them going back.
Oldest to newest.
It's not pretty back there. It's
no, but it is cool. Like it is cool to see the progress is insane. It's the production value progress and also dance progress, on camera progress, format progress. Like it's pretty insane to watch just the evolution of you learning all of that. So I agree. You know, people do start in their bedrooms, but how many people would you say are these big TikTok dancers, like huge, like the ones with like a few mil, whatever, that aren't actually dancers? Do you know what I mean? Are there a lot?
That aren't like professional dancers?
Yeah, like the ones who, not the ones who look like they're just having fun, but the ones who like you collab with and things like that. Those like of that caliber, are most of them actual dancers?
Most of the ones I collab with are, I mean, it's different. If you're in LA, you have access to the best training in the world, right? Like I teach a class here every Monday for professional dancers.
Millennium,
OG, favorite studio, you know, and you can come there and you can train with the best dancers in the world. So if you're in LA, you really have no excuse, you know, but you know, so where you been? Next Monday, see you there.
Oh my God, I would die in your class.
Come.
Beginner class. Do you ever do one of those?
I actually, you know, especially in the NFT space, everybody's been asking me to do a beginner class.
Really
so
should.
We will set one up. If you'll help me,
I'll help you organize it.
All right.
Because I can't do like a quick 8 count type of, you know, I need,
of course,
the basics.
And I love teaching a beginner class, but when you put beginner class in LA, the professional dancers still come. Like
fucking assholes.
I don't know why.
Stay away.
They're like,
Stay
oh,
away.
it's just because it's fun and it's chill. I'm like, yeah, but like your level of beginner is still advanced.
Yeah,
like that's not beginner.
Please, like,
so
don't
we
come
need
to
like
that.
we need like not for the public.
Yeah. We'll keep it like invite only. You text for the address, kind of a vibe. Yeah.
Sneak in the back door, say the code word.
We'll have snacks and security.
Maybe a couple beverages before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that kind of vibe. No, I would love to do it.
Okay, let's organize that for sure. So a lot of those people who they might not be lifelong dancers, but because they live in LA, they have access to this like top level training that they can really just get good quite quickly. Is that sort of the vibe?
Yeah. And most of the people that you see on TikTok, look, if somebody can dance, then they're a good dancer. You know what I mean? Like if you watch someone do some dance, even if it's like a 10-second TikTok and you're like, dang, they're smooth, like they're killing it. They're a good dancer. Like the difference is when you say, is someone a professional dancer? Most of them know. And the difference is like, it was shocking to me when I first moved to LA, and it's terrifying. So when you go into a dance audition, like say you want to be in Beyonce's new music video,
yes,
right?
Please.
Me too.
Yes, please.
Sure. So
sign me up.
You think you're going to come into the audition and there's going to be a bunch of people and they're going to teach you the choreography and then you're going to do it and then see how it goes, right? No, it's like, depending on how closed it is, but it could be 1,000 people going for like 2 spots.
Oh God.
Like insanity, right? And if it's closed, maybe it's like, which means your agent has to invite you. Then it might only be 600 people going for like 4 spots, right? Like it's absurd. And so you come in, they don't have time to really like teach everyone the choreography. So you're crammed in a room. You can't even see the choreographer. And they're like, 1 and clap and doom doom pop, boom, hot, look back, push out, pop, pop, D. Okay, one more time. All right, group 1. And then it's like 10 of you in front of a room of 600 people. You've never even seen the choreography and they're filming you. And they're like, cut, get out. You can stay. Next. Like,
fuck.
That's it.
That's so intense.
Like in and out. And so people will be like, oh yeah, like I take class, I learn choreography. No, when you come and you audition for these big artists, you have to be able to see things once, maybe twice, and remember the entire thing and be able to execute it perfectly. So the level is just insane. Like it took me 2 or 3 years of training every day in LA to get used to how quickly these people pick up choreography. It's unbelievable.
That's so stressful.
Terrible.
I hate it. Imagine. I do really well in spaces where I'm allowed to fail.
Yeah.
And not very well in spaces where I'm not.
No.
And that sounds crazy.
But here's why, right? Like, you're going on, the Grammys, and a day before the big performance with Beyonce now, the dancer on the left breaks his ankle or gets COVID and he can't do it. And so you've been on the right side for the last 6 months doing the tour, and you have to flip the entire set in your head by tomorrow and do the whole thing on the left, right? Or the stage was supposed to be this big, it's now this big. So all of your formations, 37 formation changes, you're now one spot over, and you have to be able to process that so fast. So people are like, well, if you give me a month, I can learn the choreography. And they're like, we have an hour, And so you're training for like the worst case scenario, and they're hiring you based on being able to handle the worst case scenario, not we have 3 months to get this show together. So there's a really good reason for it. But, for me, I'm always fascinated to hear like about any area of entertainment that I'm not in. Like, what is the highest level? Like, what are people doing at the highest level? Like, even when Elon talks about like efficiency at their factory and how I'm like, wow, like, you think like, oh, put some cars on an assembly line.
No.
He's like, no, every moment we've figured out the fastest way to do it, and it's like that way with dance too. You see the final product of like, oh, Beyonce at Coachella, really dope. I'm sure she rehearsed a long time for that. You're like, the work that goes in.
That's crazy. It really gives you such a level of respect for the artists, the performers, and everybody that goes into these shows. Having to learn that kind of shit in an hour or adjust. I mean, that's so difficult. So it does make sense that the audition process would be that insane. What was the craziest audition you've done?
Oh,
this is great.
I mean, crazy has a lot of meanings, right?
Your own interpretation.
Here, I'll give you one quick version. You walk in. This was for, I can't remember the artist it was for. It's a female artist. This was like for her summer tour, maybe a music video. And stand in a line, right? Like she wants like bunch of dudes and whatever. So we're all like, this is the universal body language for like dudes. Yeah, she wants some dudes. So all the dudes are there, being dudes, and we come in. And we're like getting ready to learn the choreography, and they're like, line up. So it's like 200 whatever dudes in a straight line across. And
so much testosterone.
Yeah, a lot. And the artist and her choreographer are just walking down the line, and they're like, okay, wait. Take your shirts off. Thank you. Cut. Get out. You can stay. Cut. No. Cut. You can stay. Narrowed it down from like 200 to like 20 in 30 seconds.
Just based off of abs?
Just based off of abs.
So did you make that cut?
I did make that cut.
Wow.
At the time. Hey, listen, it's been a few years now. I don't know.
Excellent.
I might not make it today, but at the time I made the cut. I immediately got cut right after. So I didn't get the job.
Wait, what did you get cut for? Was it for an actual dance portion?
Yeah, it was for the choreography. It was like...
So at least it was based on the merit of your own skills.
Yeah, but
not the
abs I got through.
It's hilarious. God, that's
but it's just
so
like,
aggressive.
You never know. Does
that ever give you, because I know my sister's dealt with this a lot with like the body, what's it called?
Dysmorphia.
Yeah. And just that whole idea of having to fit into these crazy narrow standards. Do you ever feel that, or have you felt that?
I mean, I think for me, I'm able to separate it a little bit more. It's harder for me if I get cut based on my dance ability than my looks.
Of course.
Like I'm 6'2". I've gotten cut from jobs for being too tall. I've gotten cut from jobs for being too skinny. I've gotten cut from jobs for not having the best abs when I wasn't in the best shape.
Right.
And those things are like, it is what it is. It hurts a little bit more when you really think you did a great job and you got the choreography and you're a great fit for the artist. And for whatever reason, it might be that they already have 2 guys that look like you and they don't need a third one. It could be anything, but you have to separate it. What took a toll on me more so was this daily grind of just like the next audition. And as a dancer, your income, like if you make your rent, depends on if you get cast on jobs. And you can only do so much. Like you're a little helpless. And that was why I went so hard into YouTube, was because I saw it as a way to regain some of that power. Like I didn't have to wait for an audition in order to get my work out there. I didn't have to wait for a casting director to choose me in order to get my work in front of an artist. I could just make a video, tweet it to Jason Derulo or Chris Brown or Beyonce, and who knows, they might respond and they might be like, yo, I like your stuff. And that's actually how I ended up working with Jason for a while, is I was just sending him videos. I loved his music, you know, I was doing videos and they were getting 10, 20, 30, 50 million views. And he was like, yo, bro, you're killing it. Like,
he's
you're
like,
going off to my
okay.
songs, you know?
Yeah.
And we just, you know, kept kind of in touch through that. He was always like really supportive of me. And then a few years later, I had the opportunity to work together and we hit it off, and I ended up dancing with him and co-choreographing some music videos. And it was a great relationship, but all through the power of the internet, not through my agent, not through these auditions that are, you know, such a rat race and really can wear an artist down.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a manager, Untitled, and they're like huge and great, but all my guests are from me. Like every time I'm trying to get anything through them, it's so much more complicated. That route is so hard to break through, especially in this city. I think taking it into your own hands is so powerful. So, okay, collabs, because you've done so many collabs. Jason, obviously, one of them. Who has been your favorite to work with, or who's someone that you really enjoy working with? Whether it's, I mean, obviously we've spoken about Jason, but if there's anybody else that really stood out to you that was like a wow moment.
Yeah, I mean, Jason's incredible. Definitely, I would say my favorite artist that I've ever worked with, because he's such a passionate person about music and dance. Like to him, it's not music here and dance here. It's like together. How do we bring this vision to life? How do we make the show feel like the music and the dance are connected, you know? So it was really, really enjoyable to work with him, and still friends to this day. I would say some of my other, you know, favorite collabs, Kevin Hart, who's a huge
I saw that
inspiration of mine.
That was cool. How'd that happen?
So Kevin started a comedy YouTube channel called LOL, I think Laugh Out Loud.
Okay.
He was doing like the ice baths where he would, you know, talk with like NBA players and stuff. And another part of the channel was skits. And the producer of the channel hit me up and was like, hey, like, got this opportunity, you know, if you want to write a skit, we'll pitch it to Kevin, and if it's all good, like we'll shoot it. You'll come in, shoot some stuff for him, and he'll shoot one for you. And I was like, holy shit! Like, I was
You're like, yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm not the best at writing comedy, but like, let's get the wheels turning, you know. And I came up with this idea, kind of similar, that like he was my boss, so I was getting these girls together for this big performance, the dancers. And he came in and just hated everything that I was doing. He was like, it's all wrong. It's backwards. And we did it in one take. It's a.
Oh, you did that in one take?
Yeah. So I think it's like a, I don't know, 6 or 7 minute video. We had 10 minutes to film it because Kevin's, you know, his schedule is crazy. But he's just incredible. Like I gave him the guidelines, the general vibe, and he improv'd 95% of it.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Unbelievable.
What a legend.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a cool one.
With collabs, like what I find, and this goes beyond dance, it goes beyond everything. The biggest thing when you're collabing, especially with people that, you know, maybe have a bigger following or more clout than you, someone like a Kevin or a Jason, is help them win. If you can help them win, they will be more than happy to collab with you. The collabs that I am not able to do is when people are like, hey bro, can we do a dance video together? What have you given, you know, like we're all busy. We all have a lot of people that we want to collab with and that we're scheduled to work with and all these types of things. Just, hey, let's do a video. Sometimes it's not really enough, especially if you're reaching out to someone that is bigger than you, you know? So anytime I do that, like with Kevin or Jason, I'm always like, yo, here's this idea. Here's how we're going to do it. I'll take care of everything. All you have to do is show up and we'll knock it out. And I make it as enjoyable of an experience, as efficient of an experience as possible. And then they're like, bro, this is amazing. Like, hit me up anytime, you know? And that's how you build those working relationships, because everybody talks. Like when somebody hits me up to do a collab, the first thing I do is look at their page. I see who else they collabed with that I know, and I hit them up. And I'm like, yo, so-and-so hit me up. Are they chill? How was shooting with them? And they're going to be honest because they're my friend. They're going to either be like, yo, it was amazing. Like, he's up and coming, or she killed it, like super fun. Or they'll be like, you know, it's kind of a long shoot. And like, I'm like, cool, thank you. Appreciate that.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So anyone that's looking to kind of work their way up that, you know, ladder in whatever field you're in, like treat every collab, especially if it's someone that you look up to, like it is the biggest collab, the biggest shoot, and take all of the work off of them. It will really pay dividends and they'll really appreciate it.
I love that. I think that's such a great piece of advice for people who are trying to break out in literally anything, podcasting as well. I'm sitting here thinking about it now. You know, I like to give my guests the value of being able to have like all these social media clips, their story out there, fun, you know what I mean? Like parts of them that are not shown in the typical content that they do. A lot of my guests that have come on are not people who are speaking all the time, apart from like Gary Vee, who literally doesn't shut up. But like everybody else, you know, they're coming from different industries. So even Leah, who's a comedian, you know, she never really got to tell her story before coming on the show. And we mentioned you on our podcast. I don't know if you caught that one, but we were talking about like amazing people we've met in NFTs, and you came up on the list. And so like that's really cool. And I like hearing that piece of advice from you, because now I'm trying to think of other ways in which I can add value to my guests. And the idea of collabing with someone and being like, I'll take care of it all, being super efficient, not wasting their time, I think is so important, especially nowadays. And anybody who knows anything about people who are creating content, if you're trying to collab with them on that area, like it's so time consuming. You know, you're either shooting or editing or this or that, post-production, pre-production. It's like it's exhausting. It's a 24/7 situation. And so if you can save as much time as possible, I feel like that's the win, especially in dance, because those shoots when you're doing so if you're collabing with someone, let's say like a Nola, who I'm assuming is quite efficient, when you're collabing with her, what's the process there? Like, do you guys take time learning the choreography right before you're going to shoot, or do you learn it? What's that steps there for that?
Yeah, it's evolved a lot. It's changed a lot. So the way we're doing it, like today, right after this, I'm going to go pick her up in Hollywood. We're going to go down to Santa Monica because we love to shoot at the pier. Okay. The weather's great. A lot of interesting people.
Yeah, you're always shooting at the pier. Always.
Yeah. It's like, you know, a little chaotic, but in a good way.
Police pulled up behind us. What did they do?
I see you've been watching the reels. Gotcha. Yeah. Pulled her in on that one.
But did I go to the long form? You know, that's the real.
I don't know. Probably not.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a real one.
A real one.
Oh, no. Not.
Damn. Okay.
It's getting out of hand.
On this podcast. So you're going to pick her up. And then
we're going to go down while we're driving. We'll kind of talk through some songs, some ideas, kind of work things out a little bit. The choreography, in a lot of ways, is actually the easy part for us, ironically. Like, the hardest part is, like, what are some songs that are trending that people love that we actually like and we like dancing to? What are some things that we can add to the dancing, to the video, maybe a costume change or a funny element or something unexpected? Those are the things we have to plan out, you know, sort of on the way. And then when we get there, we take those songs, go off to the side somewhere. It takes us about, I don't know, 10 minutes to choreograph a dance for like a 15-second thing. We'll kind of figure it out, maybe figure out 2 or 3. And then we'll go out, shoot a couple, kind of regroup, be like, all right, what else? Oh, this song, I really wanted to make something. All right, cool, let's choreograph, doom. And we'll go out and shoot it. And we've gotten it down pretty efficient to this point. There's other dancers, like I was saying, like, you know, a lot of TikTokers that have huge followings, they'll come here and I'll try to do that with them. And they're like, I can't remember the steps.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot. You know, we're a little spoiled out here. So, you know, it depends on who it is. Some people are like, send me all the choreography like a day before because I need a day to practice these dances and get it down and whatever. But, you know, if you have a professional dancer like Anola that can just pick up, we can really run through stuff quickly.
Super fast.
Yeah, which makes it, you know, you can film 5 videos, 6 videos, sometimes 8 or 10 in like a few hours if you really run that. And that's what I've been trying to do more. I mean, probably similar to you with this podcast, like you'll be able to get a few clips from this and then you mix and match and you kind of go back and forth and it creates this feeling like there's a lot of content when in fact it might have just been 2 or 3 shoots that you sort of went back and forth between. Yeah. Which is the only way to stay sane being a full-time content creator.
It really is. It really is.
If you're doing like some of my friends shoot every day, edit and upload. And I'm like, you're going to burn out.
Wait, they don't batch any of it?
You will burn out.
They don't batch any of it? That's crazy.
Trust me.
People who do that are insane to me. Like I can shoot, edit, whatever. If it's like the guacamole game, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that'd be crazy to do that every day. That's so insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is exhausting. What about when you collab with like 5 people? You know that family, the dancer family?
Yeah.
Is it harder to collab with that many people, or are they pretty in sync?
Well, I mean, they're brothers.
Yeah.
And they're all incredible dancers.
Yeah, they're insane.
Yeah. Shout out the Williams fam. It's like some of my good friends, and they're just amazing people. Like I have a brother, we get along really well. I cannot imagine having 4 brothers dancing together every day, living together, and somehow you're still like get along and always they're just like
don't want to kill each other.
Yeah, like I'm always impressed by them. They're like telling jokes. I'm like, how many times have you heard him say that joke? You know, but they're just so dope. They're like the greatest people. So they're definitely an anomaly.
Yeah.
Choreographing and collaborating with more people normally means more chaos. But again, that's where the professional element comes into. You know, if it's like professional dancer, like we've had to work with hundreds of dancers. It's like everybody knows, get their stuff done. But when I go to the social media houses and it's miserable.
I was actually going to ask you about, I put down content houses on here.
It is.
Please just explain to me the experience of a content house when you're going to shoot. Okay,
you know, like when the club is about at capacity.
Sure, yeah.
And everyone like has a table and is trying to get in at the door. And it's just like like
chaos.
That's about the feeling of shooting at a content house. It's like,
dear Lord,
I got an idea. Like someone's yelling at you, like, and you're like, okay. And then someone's like, no, do my video. And then someone else is like 1 and 2. And then someone steals a ring light. And then someone falls down the stairs. It's like, that's the energy 24/7 in those content houses.
How do people live there?
I have no idea. That's why they don't last, because it's like being on a reality show or like, you know, it's like Survivor. You can only last in a content house for so long before
Big Brother.
You just, yeah,
it's fucking nuts.
Your soul is just hovering above your body. It's not healthy.
It's interesting because I don't often see you with the backdrop of like any of those houses. You're usually out doing your shoots elsewhere. So I'm assuming that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to some of them, you know, when they first started. And don't get me wrong, the energy of having a lot of people with big followings and kind of on their grind in one place is really powerful. And that's why it's a thing, because it does help you grow. You're collaborating with 10 other people constantly, you know, but it's a little toxic. You know, you're generally dealing with people that have never experienced fame before or success or money. You're putting them all in one place. Most of them aren't from LA too. Like that's the other thing. Like you're not talking about like industry kids that grew up and they kind of get it. You these content houses, they're like, you know, some girl blows up in Nebraska and they're like, want to move to LA and be in a content house? And she's like, yeah. Like, then they're like, someone from, you know, I'm from a small town. Like, if you'd have thrown me in a content house at 18, what the hell? And given me a bunch of money, I'd be like, I probably would have been a shithead too. Like, it's crazy, you know? So they're a little wild. Love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it can be hard, even like with some of the NFT parties we go to that are just kind of really just TikTok parties. Those are a little bit stressful for me because I feel my age so much when I'm there. I'm like, wow, I'm fucking 29, because these are 18-year-old kids with more money than I have, and they act like it. And it's really hard to sort of have conversation. I'll never forget this one conversation I had with someone where I was like trying to talk to them, and just everything they said was so, they were like, yeah, I'm a social media influencer. I was like, oh, do you like it? And she's like, it's the best. And I had such a hard time having that conversation. I was dying inside.
Yeah.
It was like, but it was just so crazy because it felt like that stuff that you hear about just comes to fruition and you see it in life, and it's kind of hard to, but then again, I'm not someone who likes to judge people based off of like the general stereotype of the public. And I've definitely met some amazing people in those spaces, but I can imagine when they're all lumped together in a house like that, how crazy it can be. And is it really competitive? Is there an attitude of that at all?
Yeah, it's super competitive, and most of them, you know, don't get along, and it's a pretty toxic situation, like in most of the houses. Again, you know, which is why they don't last. You know, there's no content house that has lasted more than like a year with the same people in it. They always end up moving and
it's just weird. Why would you live together if you don't like, you know what I mean? That's such a strange, I mean, it's just for the growth.
Thirst.
Yeah.
It's for the growth, you know, and a lot of the, you know, I'm very 50-50 on social media. I think that for artists, for creatives like myself, it has given us the opportunity to do what we love for a living. And I will forever, ever, ever be grateful for social media for allowing me to not be a backup dancer, but actually be a dancer.
Absolutely.
My own brand, my own choreographer, not relying on anyone else. The downside of it is that, like we all know, social media gives a very fake view of people's lives and people's relationships. And you see these people that are posting all day and night, my bestie, we did this, we did that, all this stuff. And then I know behind closed doors that they're both trying to kill each other every second that they're not on IG Live, you know?
Yep.
And we're grown enough to know the difference, but kids aren't, you know? And I think that that's for me, a little bit of the scary part is that there is so much talk about mental health and all of this stuff now. And I think it's always been an issue. It's just now we're a little bit more aware and we're talking about it. It's not as taboo, which is really great. But the amount of people that I've seen in LA really struggle with this because of this idea of everyone has this perfect life on social media and I don't, including the people that have the perfect life. They're normally the ones struggling the most, you know? And it's really important that people realize out there the truth behind the camera. And
I can't agree with you more, and it actually stresses me out sometimes when I feel like I used to live in like this positivity bubble until I got onto Clubhouse, and then like 4 or 5 months in, I started just, you know, people would start talking shit about each other to me, and it just like got so toxic, and I started feeling like, oh my God, like what am I living in? This is just so intense, and it makes me so sad. And the saddest part really is like getting trapped in that phase where you feel like, you know, all your photos have to have like the perfect filter on them, or you have to like look good, or you can't post this. And I don't know, there was a moment where I did start feeling that kind of weird pressure, and I never really used to be like that. Like I couldn't give 3 shits, you know, like that just never used to be me. And so to even feel like I allowed that to happen, and I can imagine, you know, people moving to LA who aren't even from here, much weaker than I am, not knowing this space at all, can get so sucked into that, and it's so sad.
Yeah,
it's just not good
a friend
for
told me
kids.
the other day, he's like a Twitter NFT influencer, I guess you could say at this point.
Got lots of those.
He has amassed quite a following, you know,
Hey.
and a great guy. And we've known each other for about a year, and it's just like one person in the NFT space that I would actually call a true friend, like get lunch outside, you know, and he said something that was really interesting to me the last time we had lunch. He was like, when I started Twitter, it was so fun. And I've lost the fun because now everything I say is taken out of context. Everything I say is judged. Everything I say is talked about. He's like, I can't tweet anything without just tweeting it for fun, you know? And that is a little bit of the trap, right? Is like the bigger you get, the more people watching your stuff, the more people judging your stuff, the more of an impact everything you do has. And it's really important, I think, for people coming up to realize that as they're building, because whatever you set the precedent as, whatever your character is, whatever, if it's not you, and then you start to blow up and people expect you to keep doing what you've built, then you really get into a disconnect, right? Of like, everyone wants you for this and you did it as a joke. And now they're like, well, if you don't keep doing that, we're not going to keep feeding your page and growing you, you know? And it's really important to realize that early, because a lot of people, when they're early on, they're just kind of desperate to get momentum, and they're kind of trying this and trying that and trying this. But whatever it is that sticks, like, you have to see that through. That's what people are, you can't like blow up for memes and then all of a sudden be inspirational. People are gonna be like, that's like, too far of a stretch, right? And so I think it's really important, anyone that's coming up, like, when that success hits, when that opportunity, when that viral video, whatever it is, make sure it's something that you're proud of and that you want to be a part of your legacy moving forward.
It is hard, that criticism. Do you ever feel, did you ever get down on YouTube comments or on comments online? Like, did that ever affect you, or were you always able to sort of keep it quite separate?
Honestly, I've been really lucky that I don't get too much hate. You know, I mean, I'll get like your dancing sucks or so-and-so is better, but like, that's not.
Yeah. What's
you know
that going to do?
Like, you know, like, your face is stupid. Like, all right, thanks. You know,
like,
great. Yeah. I don't generally get things that are like too deep, because I don't put my personal life out there too much. I think that's where it's a lot harder. If you're a vlogger and you're putting everything you do every day on your Instagram story, and people know everything about you and every friendship and relationship and your past and your future and this, like, you're really opening yourself up, and you have to be able to deal with that. I'm a private person. Like, if it weren't for my business being primarily like marketed through social media, I would post like a picture a month of like me and my friends, you know, at a birthday party. Like I would be that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a social media person. I'm not an introvert. I'm somewhere in between, but I don't like people I don't know knowing too much about me. That's a little uncomfortable for me, you know?
Yeah.
So I've purposely kept that distance. I think what's harder for me mentally is the changes in sort of the space not always lining up with like my belief of art and what's good, you know, like
Explain that a little bit. Like what's an example
well,
of
like
that?
you said, like you put out a video you're really proud of and it doesn't do well. You put out a video of Guacamole Game and it blows up.
Yeah.
Okay, on the one hand, very grateful
Thanks,
to
Guacamole Game.
Reels
Yeah.
for blowing up Guacamole Game, but it does sometimes crush your soul a little bit that the thing that
So
you know
much.
would help the world be a better place is not seen by a human, you know?
Absolutely.
And that can weigh on me a little bit, you know, when I put out art, dance video, whatever it may be, even a song that I feel like is really powerful and would have an impact, and the algorithm doesn't agree, you know, and it's tough. Like that can weigh on you because you want to do stuff that you feel proud of all the time.
Absolutely.
You
It has
know?
your name on it.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, if 15-second videos on the pier with the cops in the background crush it, sometimes you gotta one for me, one for them,
They
right?
do
Back
crush-
to that.
Honestly, I do love those. Like, I love those videos. They always scroll through my feed, and they always pop up, and I'm just like, that's crazy. That one shuffler girl that you always, what's her name? Vanessa.
Yeah.
She's so good. She's
Yeah.
always on my feed, and she's crazy. She's just two-stepping, da-da-da-da. Like, I don't even. Sometimes I see them, and I think it's just such a feat of physical ability. It's like when you watch someone who does those crazy gym, like calisthenic videos where they're like holding themselves up on rings and flipping around, or ninja shit.
Crazy.
It's insane to me.
Yeah.
So, okay, so not wanting people to know too much about your personal life and all of that, like I've heard you speak about this idea of wanting to potentially change your name as your DJ name, because having Matt Steffanina out there is pretty personal, and it means that people can reach you and these little kids can stalk you in hotel rooms, which I think is such a freaking hilarious story. And I can't believe it's happened multiple times. So have you kind of gotten over that, and are you now just embracing it? You're full-fledged Matt Steffanina. It has to happen.
I love full-fledged Matt Steffanina.
You're full-fledged.
Like I've come into my final evolution.
Oh, are
my form.
Is bro the final?
I'm a dude now.
Dude,
I am dude. Yeah. I mean, look, the realization came when I thought of the work that would go into having
changing
another alias. Because I started to do it, you know, and I have this separate music page, and I was like, I can barely keep up with one set of Instagram, TikTok, 3 YouTube channels, a Facebook, a Snapchat, a Twitter. I'm probably missing a few more.
Dear Lord.
And trying to, you know, keep up almost daily on most of those with content. To add now a music alias with another Instagram, another TikTok, another Twitter, it was exhausting, the thought of it, you know? But I'll tell you the reason that I was doing it. The music industry, like every other entertainment industry, is very, very, very difficult to get into.
Absolutely.
You know, like people don't realize the work that goes into producing a song, just like they don't realize the work that goes into doing a stand-up routine or putting together a podcast. Like, yes, you can put a microphone on a table and a camera and you have a podcast, but to do it at a level like this, it's a massive amount of work.
It is.
And to do it consistently and edit and get, you know, and the guests and lining everything up, like massive amount of work. I've been producing now for 10 years on and off, the last 4 seriously. I still am nowhere near knowing the things that I want to know to be able to, right? And so my fear was that if I just make this switch and I'm like, now I'm a DJ, people aren't going to understand that I have been putting in the work for the last years and years and years of actually paying respect to the industry, to the culture, to the art form, and doing it the right way. Because influencers every day become actors, become DJs, become fitness gurus.
Everyone's a fucking DJ.
Yeah,
right now.
everyone's a DJ.
Yeah.
Everyone's, and you know, like, to each their own, but some of the people that are now being DJs, they just hired someone to put together an hour set. They push play and then they stand there and they dance around.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and I understand from a legitimate producer's point of view how that could maybe look like what I'm doing. And I didn't want that to be it. So part of it was, let me start fresh so that no one can say anything and they understand that this is a new project, a separate project. But then what I realized is that the music that I'm making is in line with the person that I am. It's in line with the dancer that I am. If I was going to go make, heavy metal, maybe I change things up, right?
What would your heavy metal name be?
If anybody has a just in case, just hurrah, hurrah.
That'd be a great heavy metal name.
Coming to the stage. Raw.
He also dances.
I'm just up there shuffling to heavy metal music.
Fuck.
It would have been,
that happen.
Yeah. So,
Right.
But now that things are more aligned, I'm going to let the music speak for itself and I'm going to put in the work and I'm just going to let it be what it is.
You have been making music for a long time. I was looking back at some of the interviews and the Cymatics, that show. And I mean, a lot of those happened quite a while ago, and you've been DJing for ages. So when did you start DJing? Because didn't you do parties first, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Did we talk? How'd you find that?
No, research.
Oh man, you really do your homework on
Welcome
this
to the Shanni Show.
I got to be careful. What's on the internet?
You have a lot on the internet. Don't worry. I mean, listen, if it makes you feel any better, there's no way anyone can consume all your content.
Great.
It's like physically impossible. It's like finishing Netflix.
Nor would I want anyone to do that.
You're like, please don't.
So much.
But did you, when you started DJing and doing like the parties and stuff, were you making music at all or not really?
Okay, so here's how I started DJing. I was in Virginia in a small town. And I had this passion for dance. I was terrible, like god awful. But I was learning and I was, teaching some beginner classes to my friends that were even worse than me.
Oh.
And
interesting.
Yeah, because there were no classes. Like hip hop dance did not exist.
Wow.
And there was no YouTube. So how could anybody learn? Like I was copying music videos in my basement, like trying to figure it out. And then I was going and teaching my friends what I knew.
Nice.
Word started to get around that there was this guy teaching hip hop in town.
That's hilarious.
In the old small town, Virginia.
Wait, pull your mic down just a little bit.
So yeah, the word spread.
So in your basement, this is where it's like it became a thing.
Oh yeah, we call it the lab.
Oh, that's a good name.
We're down in the lab, labbing.
That's a good name.
And in the basement, grinding, and word starts to spread. So I start getting hired.
That could be your heavy metal name, the Lab. That's a good.
That's a big name to live up to.
Really good heavy metal name. Oh wow, are we making music? I think we're making bops.
Did we get signed?
I think we just did.
Are we on TikTok?
I think we might be.
Original sound.
This is definitely going to be on TikTok.
Oh God, I will try my best to dance to it. It'll be very interpretive.
This audio. It's be hilarious.
Dun, dun,
dun. Okay, so you're starting the lab. You're in the basement.
Yeah, I'm in the basement. I'm terrible. Word gets out that there's this guy, hip hop dancing. Everybody wants to learn hip hop. It's like Justin Timberlake is coming out, Missy Elliott. Yeah, like we're starting to see this wave. So I start getting hired at like a couple dance studios to bring hip hop to Virginia.
Oh, regular dance studios, like ballet studios and things like that?
Like they're like, the kids have been asking for this.
Hilarious.
So I start doing that. This guy says, hey, I DJ like corporate events and bar mitzvahs and we need someone to like get people dancing. Nobody has, the balls to get on the dance floor. I'm going to hire you and you're going to get people dancing. And I was like, you're going to pay me to dance at sure, whatever.
Oh my God, you were the bar mitzvah hype man.
I was the hype man.
I fucking loved those people.
That's where it all started.
My bar mitzvah had those.
Yeah?
Everyone needs bar mitzvah hype people.
Right.
They like break dance in the middle. That's the shit.
That was me.
That's sick.
But in rural Virginia.
How many bar mitzvahs were there?
Oh, a shocking amount.
That's hilarious.
And trust me, I was hired for every single one. I didn't miss a party. Quinceañeras, we had the corporate Christmas party. I was getting everybody dancing, right? But you can only do that for so long before it gets a little redundant. So the guy I was working for is like, hey, like I'm getting more DJ gigs than I can handle. I want to promote you. If you'll learn how to DJ, you can DJ and you don't have to dance at these things anymore. And I was like, done deal. Bought a little set of decks, started learning, started playing the bar mitzvahs and the corporate events. And that was the beginning. I ended up like building a little, following, doing that in Virginia. Got some clubs, got some opportunities, started building, and I loved it. And I moved to LA with the intention of 50% DJing and producing and 50% dance. Like it was my sort of goal was to do both simultaneously. And I got here and they were like, look, kid, we know you're a big deal in Virginia. We don't care.
Big in Virginia.
Yeah, like that doesn't. Try to tell someone in LA you were big in Virginia. See how they look at you.
Hey, how's it going, Matt? Steffanina, big in Virginia. It's fucking hilarious.
They're gonna be like, good, go back.
Big in Virginia is also a good heavy metal name.
Wow,
Got a lot
so
of
many options.
So many options.
Hope you're taking notes. I'm gonna have to watch this back. But yeah,
so they were like, "Fuck you, no."
They were like, absolutely not. So I got a couple DJ gigs, they paid nothing. They gave me the worst slots. It was terrible hours. And they wanted me to commit to like 6 months of every Wednesday at some shitty club. And I was like, I can't do both.
Yeah.
And so I stopped DJing to pursue dance full time. And I think it was, I could have done either one. And I think I would have gotten there. Honestly, looking back, like how DJing has exploded and now it's actually an art form. Like, I wish I would have stuck in a way, but the experience that I had with dance was so incredible to be able to travel and tour and do everything. And now to get to go back and do it with music is really special. And I think I appreciate it that much more that I took 6, 7, 8 years away from it and I missed it. And I kept saying, as soon as I'm financially stable, as soon as I can take a couple things off the table, like I'm going back to music. It was always the intention. And then about 4 years ago, I was like, okay, like I'm good. Like things are good, things are rolling. And I went back to music school actually, because I knew that I knew that I needed something to hold me accountable.
To get things done and like practice stuff. Yeah.
I'd been saying I wanted to do it. My schedule is just so busy. And I was like, the only way I can turn down jobs and opportunities is if I'm like, guys,
have class. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so it was really just accountability and also knowledge, obviously that part too. But I needed someone to be like, where's your assignment? It's due, to get me there. And also just knowing that I was spending a lot of money on this and be like,
you'd like really want to make it worth it.
Yeah, like I'm not going to waste this, right? So sometimes you have to know yourself and know your weaknesses. And I knew that, I wouldn't do it unless I put myself in that position. So, here we are today. That was 4 years ago that I made that decision and been going pretty hard ever since.
I feel like the same way that dance or that DJing also sort of took off for the artists, like dance did the same sort of thing as well. A lot of these spaces really evolved in a way that I wish I understood more of. Like I wish I kind of understood as a kid that, following certain passions can actually lead to money down the road. And I was so focused on entrepreneurial type things and going down that route than I was on really embracing certain things that I really loved and like honing in and getting good at those things. And I've changed now, obviously as an adult. I'm definitely doing a lot more and chasing my passions for sure and things I really enjoy doing. But it's crazy how so many things that are considered hobbies or were considered hobbies are legitimately now ways that people are making not just a little bit of money, but generational wealth. Yeah. It's insane.
It's incredible. It really is.
I mean, if I knew, because I was posting videos onto Vimeo, which I know you have done as well, way back when. And if I knew that, vlogging or any of that kind of thing, like if I really understood the idea of letting go of my perfectionism and all of that, I think I would have been so much more active. But I was like, this will just be a waste of time. And, the people who didn't think that and who had the foresight to be able and the forethought to be able to say, this is going to be worthwhile, really were able to take those passions and turn a career into them. And I think you've done that with dance. So even if you didn't do that with DJing, I mean, you really did that with the space that also blew up in a different way.
Yeah. And most of us did not know at the time that it was going to work. Right. But
it was out of love, right? And passion.
It was out of love. And I was really fortunate. I owe a lot, everything of what I have today and the experiences I've had, honestly, to my parents. They both went the very traditional route, got educated, master's degrees, accountants, computer programmers, got good jobs, had small businesses. And, we never were wealthy, but like we got by, you know, we were good. Living in a small town in Virginia, and all of that. And so my programming from school and everything was like, go to school, get a job, right? And so as I'm getting older and older and I'm starting to have more talks with my parents, they're like, look, like the reason we left DC and moved to the middle of nowhere in Virginia is because we weren't happy there. And we didn't like our jobs and we didn't like what we went to school for. And we wish we had done this. And my dad, he played the trumpet. His passion was to play the trumpet, and he gave it up to go to school and get a good job. My mom wanted to be a writer. She wanted to be speaking. She loves psychology. She gave that up to be an accountant, to get a good job. And they told me that it's not worth it. They were like, we wish we had stuck with what we wanted to do. You know, we were the first ones from our families to have the opportunity. We felt like we had to do it, but we feel like we could have made it, you know, doing what we loved. And my mom would say to me, like, I don't care if you're a trash man, be the happiest trash man in the city. Like, that's it, you know? And so they really instilled that in me. And I had a period when I was thinking about leaving Virginia, and, you know, I'm DJing, I'm teaching dance classes. I was a personal trainer part-time, and I picked up this hobby of flipping houses at 18 years old.
Nice.
Which I don't know if that's on the internet anywhere.
I don't know if I actually
little
found
known
that,
fact.
but now it will be.
Eternalized forever. So I saw the show, A&E show called Flip This House. And it was like the first flipping house reality show. And it was this guy, Armando Montalago. And he was like, you know, I buy them, I fix them, I flip them up. Or, you know, the whole thing.
I love
right?
that.
Like,
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, like that's pretty cool. And so my dad and I found this convention of like real estate convention. This was like 15 years ago. Donald Trump was the keynote speaker, like back when like The Apprentice had just come out.
Hilarious.
And all these people, and we went to this convention, and I learned how to like flip houses, came back to Virginia and started doing it. And I was doing it at 18 because houses in rural Virginia, I bought my first fixer-upper for $68,000.
Oh my God.
And I only had to put 10% down. So even at 18, I was able to muster together $6,000 to buy a house, put a few grand into it, worked on it on the summer, and I actually still to this day own that house. I still have it.
Oh, no way. You
as a
still
rental
rent it
property.
out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still rent it out. And I'll never sell that one just because it's important to me to kind of, it's the first one, right? So I had this period where I was starting to do this, and I was making good money and everything was going well. And I was like, I could either make a lot of money in Virginia and keep expanding this flipping house business and kind of do this, or I can take a risk and go to LA and do something that I will never have the opportunity to do again, you know? And I know I'm going to be poor as fuck and struggle for a long time. But worst case, I can always come back, you know? And that was a decision that I made. And I remember very, very vividly the exact moment that I made it. I was sitting at the gym in between two personal training clients, and I was like, I'm going. I'm going. And I loaded up the car a few months later, and that was it.
Wow. That's such a crazy story. So how many of those properties do you still own?
Only one from Virginia, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's not really like a very big community of rental, like house flip it, whatever.
Right.
So it's hard to find like property managers there. I just didn't want to be dealing with it out here.
So you just sold them?
So I sold them, yeah. But I still have, you know, a rental in Vegas, and I have a property here in LA.
Nice.
So I'm still kind of in the space.
Yeah.
I dabble and flip from time to time. But, you know, again, like everything else, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And if you want to compete, you know, people are like, oh, I'll just pick up a foreclosure. Yeah, if you want to compete in the foreclosure market, like good luck doing that on the side. Like you have to be on your stuff, you know. So I don't necessarily have the time to go full out
doing
in
it
it
now, yeah.
But I still, you know, I still keep up.
So did the money that you did from flipping, did that fund part of the beginning of LA? Was that what funded that?
Yep.
Because you saved what, 8 months worth? Is that what was the thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
I calculated roughly that I was such a bad dancer that it would take me about a year
Give or
to
take.
get good enough to book any job whatsoever.
It's a good cushion.
Yeah. So I saved up enough money for basically for rent and food and dance classes, because classes, you know, are expensive in LA.
Yeah.
And I
so
needed
expensive.
to be training. You know, I needed to be training. So I kind of budgeted that, did the math, and it was about 9 months to book my first job. And my first
Jay
job.
Leno.
Yeah. Jay Leno, The Tonight Show. I got to be Jay Leno's body double. Still to this day.
Still fucking cracks me up.
One of the best jobs I ever did.
That story is so funny to me because everyone always says my dad looks like Jay Leno, especially from behind, because he's got like the big gray hair.
Yeah.
Like they look identical. We had him on my dad's podcast actually. Like,
no way.
Yeah, a few years back.
Such a good
dude. And
dude.
So nice. Such a kind person. His whole car thing is crazy.
Yeah.
Really interesting guy. But it's so funny that you did that. Like you were his body double. It's because you were his like height and stuff, right?
Yeah, that was. So I told you about auditions. How it's like
hilarious.
5,000 people for one spot or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the easiest audition of my life. They said, we need a guy that's 6'1" or 6'2" that can break dance and do windmills and do backflips.
Were they just like no to all these short people?
Yeah. Because there's not many break dancers over 6 foot. Like it's hard, you know.
Yeah.
And Jay is tall, and so they had it. It was narrowed it down to like 4 of us based on that criteria. And I sent in a video and they hired me on the spot. It was
nice.
Incredible.
So sometimes your looks worked an advantage, like height, all of that can really be
Yeah. I mean, look, height, like female artists, obviously they wear heels and they want the guys to be taller than them in general.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why like, Taylor Swift and some of the female artists that I worked with, my height really played to my advantage.
Yeah. And Taylor's tall too as a person.
Yeah. Taylor's pretty tall. And so it's all based on the artist, but there were other artists like, male artists in particular that I was a huge fan of. And I was like, I will never work for them because you're not going to have dancers taller than the artist,
Right.
So yeah, it can play both ways. In general though, it's definitely harder as a male dancer being tall. You're cutting your options.
Oh,
a good
interesting.
bit. Like if you're like 5'9", 5'10", then you can do female and male for the most part. And then that's sort of the sweet spot, but
Well, what can you do? I mean, I think you've done quite well for yourself, even as a 6'2" person.
I mean, you can't shrink, you can't grow, so like it is what it is. You just gotta make it.
I've always wanted to be tall for a day, like just like wind up my knees a little, just make me a little taller.
I mean,
so nice.
That surgery is probably not far away.
I don't think it is. Trans height, is that a thing? Can we transition to taller humans?
Like. Maybe not in the knees. I don't know. Maybe it's like the neck. Maybe it just stretches your neck.
That's the worst way to grow height. So I just get like a really good fucking view.
Yeah.
Super long.
You're at the festival. You just wind it up like a tripod.
Yo, that's not a bad idea. I can never see anything at a festival. That's why I always stay really far behind because there's just no hope.
I had a realization when shows came back. I forgot how crowded, festivals get.
Yeah.
And I'm tall and I get a good view, pretty much from anywhere. And sometimes I'll like go to whisper something in one of my friends' ear and I'll still be looking at the stage and I'm like, oh, you can't see
You can't see any of that. Like
it's just the back of that dude's
how
head.
Cool is this?
Yeah.
They're like, what? His dandruff?
Yeah.
Like super cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that is one place where the height comes in advantage.
Definitely such a factor. So, okay, we got to talk about NFTs a little bit because the stuff that you're doing in the crypto space is super cool. Speaking of all of the YouTube channels which you have a crypto channel and you've been in crypto for also a long time. And the way that you've meshed the sort of crypto NFT dance world, I find really fascinating with this whole idea of owning IP. So first, just give us a brief, why'd you start crypto? When was it? And then talk more about what you just spoke about with that, because I think a lot of people will be interested in how the dance and NFT space can kind of blend.
Yeah, so I started crypto in 2017. I, grew up kind of messing around with stocks, options, things like that. So I've always been fascinated by investment and how to multiply your money. That was part of the reason I got into real estate and
we love a 10X.
Flipping houses. Absolutely. And I was a really big just fan of that space. I still to this day, read a lot of books and pay a lot of attention to the people that are kind of leading that charge. And I saw crypto as a way to get closer to the inside, right? I felt like with stocks, I was always just reacting off of the news or the news of the news. And there were so many layers of people that were basically just insider trading.
Pelosi? I want access to her trade list. That way just give me like a week of your trade list.
And with that said, we know that crypto and NFT space is absolutely not immune to that. It's happening just like we saw CryptoPunks being front-led.
Absolutely
last
happening.
Week. All of a sudden, 200 CryptoPunks sell out of nowhere.
Nowhere.
A day later, hey, we have a new president. Nothing is immune to it. But I felt like crypto, it was early. I had the opportunity to research these projects and get in earlier. So I was just fascinated by it. I just won The Amazing Race. I had some extra money sitting around.
My favorite show.
And, so I went in and it was 2017. So like anyone that was around in 2017, it was really great. We all crushed it. And then we lost everything. And I definitely learned about, market crashes and how it works in 2018, which has helped me, a lot in this recent crash. Be, kind of just patient. It happens. But yeah, I was fascinated by the space. I didn't leave the space. I didn't sell. I just sort of waited for things to come back. I believed in it long term. And then in 2020, when things came back, I was in a good position to go hard and everything. And, the crypto and NFT channel that I started, the real thing is artists are not taught anything about business. We all know we're not taught that in school. But in some,
That's for damn fucking sure.
like, not a thing.
Taxes, nothing,
right?
nothing. They give us nothing.
It's terrible. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then, you know, some of us go on to things like college where we do get some of that training, or we go into the finance world or some type of investment situation where we have people along the way that sort of teach us these things, and eventually we kind of figure it out. Artists never come in contact with those people. Like, I have friends that are in their 30s that are dancers that still don't know how to do their taxes, that still don't know what a 1099 is. They're like, I
don't do my own taxes.
Well, I mean, I don't either, but I had to for a few years, so I at least know. You know what I mean?
I just would get, like, if I had to do my own, I'd be in jail.
Well, I mean, now with crypto and NFTs, we all would, because it's so confusing and complicated.
I'm waiting every day.
Yeah,
I'm
just
like,
take me away.
Where you guys at, IRS?
It's a wild, wild west for sure. But yeah, artists just there's no education for it. And so my channel isn't necessarily for artists. It's for everyone. But the inspiration was from all of my friends texting me and being like, I see you talking about crypto. I see the monkey picture. I get it. It's worth money. What is it? How do I do it? What's going on? And I just realized that, wow, there's like a big disconnect, you know, and so that was the inspiration to start it. But it's really for anybody that's sort of starting their journey. I'm not the best at technical analysis. I'm not going to argue over charts and lines. I understand it, but I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I understand the social world, the real world. I am not a finance major, and I also understand enough about it to be able to bridge the gap. And that's sort of my goal, is to do that and be the voice for people that are too smart to communicate to the people that don't understand. Because when I watch people's YouTube channels on crypto, sometimes even I've been in finance, I've been investing, like looking at charts since I was 10 years old.
What
I'm like,
are you saying?
they're like, well, if these lines converge, then the support level, and that turns into resistance, and then
The
this
support
and a diverging
level?
flag, like you have to really know your shit to understand that, right? Like, and so I kind of watch that, and then I'm like, okay, I understand. Let me take that and explain to you guys, like, hey, be careful right now. Things might take a while, or here's what the interest rates rising could actually mean for crypto, or here's why this project blew up, but here's why it also might crash, because the reason it's blowing up is not for fundamental solid reasons. It's just for hype and memes, and that can't sustain because look what happened with this other project, right?
Right.
Like more of a psychological and practical sort of view on the markets and what's happening rather than the technical side.
Yeah, and you know what you're saying right now with in terms of like watching these crypto channels, we have a lot of slang that's very fucking confusing.
Yeah.
What are all these terms that we use nonstop? So for people coming into the space, it can be quite intimidating, even though it's really not that it's not that crazy. Once you sort of start grasping everything, you start learning more, you start understanding, but it can seem really daunting when you don't even understand any of the words that people are using.
Yeah.
That's like a very
the learning
difficult.
curve is massive.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe now people do understand the risk a little bit more, but you know, 6 months ago when I was trying to tell my friends that were putting all of their money into Dogecoin or random NFTs, and I was like, guys,
Doge, I made so much money off Doge.
hell yeah, me too,
That's
right?
so fantastic.
Great.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you. Thank you.
If you understand what's happening, it can be the quickest wealth generator in the world.
Yeah, it's
But if you
shocking.
don't understand, and you know, it's not like I don't still make mistakes. Like, look at what just happened with Luna. Like, nobody saw that coming, you know, and well, a couple people did, and they made a lot of money off of it. But most of us, you know, there's still things that are happening that are hard to predict. But you have to, at least at the end of the day, understand the risks. You have to understand why things are going up. Elon tweeting is not sustainable.
It's not.
Right?
But it is helpful.
But it can be great.
Not sustainable, but helpful. Thanks,
yeah.
Elon. Please keep doing that.
If you know when to get out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's
Very
like
true.
that's the key. And so, yeah, people really need to be educated because it is a wild west. And if you come in and you just watch one of these crypto guys that's brilliant, you can't understand that shit.
Yeah, it's
like
too hard.
It's like that scene in A Beautiful Mind where he's like,
Yeah,
all the numbers are like
yes.
floating around. Like
That's what I see when I see charts. I hate charts. Fuck me up. I'm like, what are you looking at? And they're like, here's the max caps, and I'm like, what?
I mean, charts are great. There's a reason why charting works and people do it.
It's just so
but
it's crazy.
It's so many things are based on trends and tweets and news and things you can't predict. Like they call them like black swan events, right? Like a bad event that you can't predict. Well, those have been happening like once a day the last like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, the chart is great, but if things are unpredictable and happening, you have to also understand that side of it.
Now it's so much harder with social media because those kind of events obviously pop off way more than they used to. So charts used to be far more reliable. Now things can switch so quickly. It's pretty crazy, but it is really cool what you've done. You're such a teacher online. You know, you started this sort of dance tutorial trend. You're going into the education space with NFTs. And you really, do you ever feel that? Do you feel that within yourself, that you're like someone who is a teacher persona? Like that seems like something that's really a part of your character, is that you really like teaching people.
Yeah, I do. And I try to teach people things that I wish I would have been taught. Like that was the whole premise of the dance tutorials, is I grew up in a city that did not have a hip hop class. And I was like, okay, I'm in America, in Virginia, like a little rural.
little rural.
Not LA.
little.
But nevertheless, like I'm still in a city
Yeah.
and we don't have access to this. How many people around the world must be curious about hip hop dance that have even less chance of ever running into a hip hop class than I do? Probably a lot, you know? So as I was learning, I was like, all right, well, let me help just spread this information. I wish I knew how to do an arm wave, you know, like you see it happen, and yeah, exactly. You're like, how does, if your bones don't bend, how do you make it look, you know? And if somebody doesn't teach you that, like, good luck.
I'm gonna take one of your choreographies. I'm gonna do one of your like beginner YouTube classes and just see how I do. I'm gonna film the beginning and then film the last scene and see like what the progression is. I'll let you know. Let you know how it goes.
And as soon as you do that, you're gonna see it run as an ad for DNCR.com. You're gonna be like, look at Shanni.
Damn, god damn.
On day 1, here's her.
Here's her on day 14, a whole new human being. It's almost as if she has rhythm now.
I would love to run that ad.
All right, I'll film that.
Right.
I'll do that at some point, because I have always actually wanted to learn. I think that's why I do get your ads so often, because they know deep down they're targeting the right person. It's one of those things on my list. Like right now I'm doing like a lot of martial arts. At some point I definitely want to do some surfing. I need to learn how to get up on a board, and then dance for sure is also on that list. These are just really fun activities that I think I was too scared to get into before, because I was always like a fat kid. And when you're a fat kid, you don't feel like you can do physical things. Like I never had core strength. I probably physically couldn't get up on a surfboard as a teenager because I never had I never had strength. I never really like trained my muscles. So I always felt like I would be too weak for a lot of those things. Even dance too, like not feeling comfortable in your body is a big thing, I think, when it comes to dancers. My sister always has that, and a lot of people in her class, it's a big thing. So I feel like you have to feel good as a human, and then you feel like invincible and you can tackle all these things even if you're shit.
I love the way you ended that.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, I wasn't expecting that where the sentence to end.
Because it's like, even if I go and try, like, at least now I have the confidence to be like, I can go on a surfboard. You know what I mean?
But I would argue
even if I keep
that
falling.
it's actually the opposite. That if you find things, activities, art forms, you will build the confidence.
Yes.
And then regardless of your body, you can still feel confident.
I wish I felt that way before.
You know,
now I feel that way. Now I understand that.
It's not easy, you know, but dance is a great example. Like I have a dancer and a friend named Amanda that I dance with a lot. And her hashtag she uses is breaking the stereotype.
Nice.
Because she's a big girl. And I've been teaching her since she was 13, 14.
How old is she now?
22.
Oh, okay.
21.
Cool.
And at the time when she was coming up, there weren't any dancers successful in industry that looked like her. And so, you know, it was always this kind of thing of like, I would imagine a lot of conversations with her agent, like what you were saying for me, like my agent being like, keep your abs, you're not going to book jobs, right? Like I can only imagine that she went through a lot of that with her body type. And she actually is such an amazing dancer that she created an industry for herself where artists were like, we don't care what you look like. If you fit the mold that traditionally we hired, you're dope.
Yeah.
And we want you on our stage. And because she stuck true to that and she is who she is, and she's created this industry for plus size dancers and for people to feel comfortable and feel confident, you know, and
fucking love that.
It's hard. I can't even imagine the courage that it took for her to stand up for herself in those conversations against people in power, get turned down from jobs and stay true to it. So, you know, I'm really proud of her for doing that. And it is really amazing how sometimes when you're the one that does it first, the amount of love and respect that you get is 10x by doing it 10th or 100th or 1,000th or 1,000,000th, you know? And I think that that's something that's so important for people to realize exactly what you're saying. Like, it's so easy to judge yourself and not even give yourself the opportunity because you think,
yes, you think you can't.
Oh, I'm not in good enough shape, or I don't look like this, or I don't, whatever. Even me with music, like I definitely had the thoughts of like, I haven't done this in a while. The sound is changed. Can I still do it? Right. And you just make a decision. You make a split-second decision. You're like, I'm doing it or I'm not. I'm fucking doing it. And then once you do that, you just go. And then try not to let those thoughts creep back in because they inevitably will.
Yeah.
You know, like how many times along the way to doing this podcast was it like, oh, it's a lot of work, or like, do I get all the cameras? Or
I
like,
had a whole fucking show before this that I did for 3 years before I was ready to launch on it. Like there was so much that went into. I hear you. I wish, but that's the thing is I think when you get older, you start feeling that way. You're like, fuck it. I don't need to be in shape to go do things. I can actually go do things and get in shape that way.
Yeah.
And not even, regardless of shape, fuck that shit, right? Like I can just go do things and I don't have to be good at them. Like I don't have to be good at something when I start it. And that's something that was so scary to me growing up. You know, if I had started dancing when I actually wanted to start dancing, it would have been when I was like 17, you know, in high school. That's so long ago. If I started then, what would I have looked like now? What would, you know, how would my dancing, my rhythm be now? It would be so impressive. And so as I've gotten older, I've started to notice that trend in me where it's like, I wish I started something and I never did. And so now, no matter what, I just start shit because I want to do it. Even if I'm going to be bad, even if I embrace those times. I embrace that shitty first part of the journey experience because it's so exciting and exhilarating to know that you're actually trying something and getting better at it and learning constantly and putting yourself and putting effort into it and not caring.
Yeah.
You know? And that's something so beautiful. And I really struggled with that as a kid. And I feel like I would have done so many more things or allowed myself to even just try more things back then had I had this kind of mentality now. But again, I mean, I'm still young. I'm only 29. There's so much life left to live. So I'm definitely going to be jumping into things.
We do that the whole way,
always,
right?
Always, all the way through.
I hear 20-year-olds all the time say, oh, I should have started dancing when right? I hear 16-year-olds say, I should have started doing this when I was 12.
If only they knew.
I hear 12-year-olds. I swear to God, the 12-year-olds in my dance class that are professional dancers at 12 years old are looking at the 9-year-olds and being like, oh, they're so much better than me. And I'm like, you're 12. Shut up.
But it's true. It gets.
Go eat your lunch and tie your shoes.
Go do your
stop
fucking
being
homework.
so good at dancing. And you know what I mean? It's all mental. The thing that anytime I want to learn something new, the first thing I do is think about a year from now. Think about 3 years from now. Think about 5 years from now. And imagine myself never having done what I'm deciding to do.
Yep.
And if the answer is, shit, I wish I would have started 3 years ago, then I do it.
100%.
That's it.
100%.
And the answer is almost always, I wish I would have started 3 years ago.
Always.
Right? You could be 80 and you'll be like, if only I had started when I was 70. Right? Like it's just human nature. And it's defeats you before you even start that concept. But we all do that, right?
But once you understand it though, and you start, like the more I feel like you start regretting these things and not doing them, the more fuel you have to start doing them because you're like, fuck, I don't want to feel that way again.
Yes.
You know, let's just jump on it. And it's true. When I was 17, I was thinking, I can't start dance in my junior year of high school. All these people have been dancing since they were 6. And now I'm 29 and I could have started when I was 17, you know? It's crazy how we feel that way about things. Even yoga, all this. I used to think that you would have had to, you know, been a yogi for like 20 years before you could go in and feel I didn't realize how good you could get at something so quickly. If you're practicing yoga regularly for a year, you're going to feel like a confident yogi. You're going to go into that class, you know what you want to do, even for less amount of time. Consistency of these things, even if you're not, I think the idea of good is just such bullshit too, right? It's a matter of how you feel you're doing. Do you feel good going in there? Like I might go into the gym and I might not be like hip thrusting 500 pounds, but it's like a couple hundred or it's 150. That's fucking bomb to me. Even if it's like a 20-pound dumbbell, you know, whatever it is, I feel confident doing it because I feel like I can do it. I've learned new exercises before, so I can conquer it. And I think the more you start conquering these new skills and tackling them, then you feel good about going into new shit too. Because you're not scared about that beginning part about being bad because everybody
Yeah.
starts there. Everybody does.
Yeah, and the process isn't that different.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
Like
not.
when you learn one thing, you realize you can learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge like life hack
Yeah,
enthusiast.
yeah.
I love figuring out ways to learn things quicker and do things faster. And, you know, I heard this really interesting thing. I want to say it was Tim Ferriss. You know, he
Okay,
has so many
love him.
great things on how to think differently. But he did an experiment, and I hope it's him, but where he figured out like something like 1,400 words or something, or maybe it was even less, 140, that you needed to know in order to be able to like communicate more or less in any language. And he narrowed it down to like
Wow.
phrases and sentences and all these things. And he was like, if you learned just this, and it was something that you could do in a few months, realistically, you'll be able to pretty much go and have conversations and not be fluent, but like, this is the important thing, right? And I loved that concept. And so I did the same thing with music, because I was like, what do I need to know? Like, yes, if I want to be Skrillex, I need to spend years sound designing, tweaking knobs, right? But I need to understand percussion. I need to understand rhythms and how all the drums fit together. I need to understand music theory. I need to be able to play enough keyboard to be able to put these chord progressions together. I need to understand why people get hooked on a song. Like, these are the things I need to know. I don't need to know everything, right? It's the same with dance. Like, if you said for the next year, like, I'm free, teach me how to dance, make me a dancer, I guarantee you I could get you to a professional level in 1 year.
Oh, I think so too.
Absolutely.
I've actually thought about that when I've thought about that when I'm like really big and doing random little vloggy content. I can just like hire someone. Well, when I also have the money, I'll just hire a choreographer and do like a whole month and just like get really good at dance. Hire a surf instructor, do like a whole month, get really good at that. Like, I really want to like get good at shit, skateboard, like all these random things.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to, and I think you can. I think you can. You know, hustling it, and if you're consistent in whatever, a year, 2 years, a month, whatever it is that you're really putting into, I feel like you can transform your skill level in that amount of time.
With the right focus.
Yes.
And it has to be
On the essentials.
it has to be the only focus. Like,
Yeah.
you have to wake up, live, breathe,
Yes,
sleep,
yes.
dance
Practice
for that
it.
time.
That muscle
you know?
memory has to build like crazy.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can do it on the side and it'll take you 5 to 10 years, right? But like that really intense focus is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy to like, cause my sister, we were talking about how she's trying to get back in, and this was something that she was like, please ask a question for me. And
She has that voice still, huh?
she's definitely still, I love her so much. She's the best human being. Doesn't she look just like me?
Yeah.
She's my little twin.
Yeah.
I was like, Eva, go up to him. He'll recognize me. I'm like, it's fine. But she asked something that I thought was really fascinating that I think a lot of people are dealing with now, which is when the pandemic started, so many people stopped doing things and they stopped having that rhythm and that flow of practice. And even people like her who've been dancing since they were 2, they feel like they have regressed because they're not in formation. They're not doing it constantly. They're not at classes. They're not absorbing that. And so she wanted to know, like, what's your best advice for getting back into something like that?
It's a really good question. And I just did a tour, like a 4-city, a small tour. And I had, you know, like the first class, maybe 150 people in a studio. And I asked, how many of you guys have taken my class before? Normally it's about 50 to 70% of the room. 10 people
Wow.
put up their hand. And this is in Houston, like a dance city. And I was shocked. And after the class, I asked those 10 people, I was like, where are all your friends that used to dance? And they were like, well, COVID, you know, and then they would be like, well, it's been 3 years since you were able to teach here. And they got a job, they had kids, they went to college, they moved, all of these things that happen. Like, everyone experienced that. And dance is such a physical thing. It's a really hard hobby to maintain if you're not consistent. I was shocked. But there's only one way to do it. Get the fuck back in class.
Get back in class.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and for me, it was no different. I was filming tutorials because I wasn't allowed to teach at the studio. So you could argue that I was still dancing, but it's not the same. Like, I'm filming a tutorial by myself in the studio. I'm dancing like 50%. I'm
There's
teaching.
no energy. There's no.
Right.
Yeah.
And the first few classes that I went back and taught, I was like, I'm gonna die, especially because they were making us wear masks still.
Oh, that I can't believe
In
you
the
guys danced
studio.
in masks. That shit was crazy. I was like, I would have cheated. Like, I can't work out in masks. I'm the worst at that.
It's
and
hard.
Indoors like that, where
Yeah.
it's and there's so much steam and
Yeah,
man,
and
that's
just
brutal.
Cardio with a mask is really difficult. So yeah, we were back and we were just dying, you know. And I was like, do I even want to post these videos online? Like, they're not good, you know. But the truth is, it's the same
way.
energy that it took you to go to your first ever dance class and being like, all right, here we go. That same courage, like, it takes some time to come back. But the good news is you come back 3, 5, 10 classes and it's
Back.
like you never left.
Yeah.
You know, it comes back quick. But that first one is scary. I used to take yoga consistently, and I didn't for 2 years. I couldn't touch my toes. I'm a dancer. I can't touch my toes.
That's pretty bad. You can't touch your toes. Although you are tall, so they're further away.
But arguably, hopefully, I have longer
Longer
arms, so
arms,
it
yeah,
kind of
true.
works out. I don't know the science behind all of that, but
That's crazy. You can't touch your toes. I have a
Not
lot of
right
friends
now.
who can't do that right now, and I think it's weird. Like, you should be like, that's maybe it's because I have really short legs,
so
so the reach is
you're not flexible at all. You
just can definitely touch my toes. It's super easy to reach. That's hilarious. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's a great piece of advice. You know, it is just about getting back in and getting started again and going out there. It's a hard thing to, first of all, it's expensive. All these classes are like a freaking fortune when you add them up and everything like that. And it's also one of those things where you have to like get the momentum going back in consistently, where you feel like, all right, I got my groove back.
Yeah, I mean, here's the way you do it. You put it on your schedule. You find 1 or 2, or if you're trying to be professional, 10 or 20. But like, realistically, for most people that want to dance and want to get in shape and have fun with it, but also have a life and a job or whatever it may be, like 1 to 2 classes a week is manageable, right? It's
pretty
like
good.
yoga, it's like the gym, like anything else. And you find those teachers and you figure out what day they teach and you put it on your schedule. I teach Monday nights, and I have this group that like religiously Monday night when I'm in town, like they're there, you know, and that's how you get back to it. As soon as it's, I know I'm this way, as soon as it's like, oh, when I have time, and then I'll check the schedule next week. Like, you don't do it, right?
Yeah,
It's just hard.
never.
Like us, how long did we try to set up maybe on this podcast and stuff? Like,
Well, that's just like classic.
Yeah,
It
it's
took
ju-
me
I
and
mean-
Flosstradamus 3 cancellations.
yeah, like things
yeah.
are crazy, right? But
Yeah.
you were like, let's get a date on the books. What's good?
Let's do it. Let's schedule it.
And we did it,
Exactly.
right? We talked about it, but
Yeah.
but it takes that making it happen, and you have to do that for yourself too.
Yeah, so true. You have to set it for yourself and not negotiate with yourself, which is something Kobe once said. And it's actually, it's my phone background, which you can't see right now, but it's my phone background. I say I don't negotiate with myself because I always have to remember that, because there's so many times where I'm sitting there like, oh, maybe something else, go.
Yeah.
But no, you cannot negotiate with yourself. If you really want to achieve the things that you're looking to achieve, you got to stick to it. And I mean, 2 classes a week sounds really great. So I'm gonna clip this for her and send it to her, because I think she's gonna really like this moment.
All right, I better see her there.
Yeah.
At
Well,
this point-
she lives in New York, but when she's here, I told her to go to your classes. Obviously, it's at Millennium, right? Just so people know.
Yeah. Studio City, iconic. Like Brittany used
I've been
to dance
hearing about this
there.
studio my
Usher
entire
used to
life.
dance there.
Millennium.
Like,
I'm gonna go to Millennium.
yep, come through. You honestly, like, you know, you can come and dance. You can also come and watch. A lot of my NFT friends have come through.
Oh, do they
just
come and
sorta, like,
watch?
enjoyed the experience.
vibe.
The thing about dance, the energy in the studio. The reason that I'm still teaching, I'm gonna be honest with you. Over COVID, like, I got out of dance shape, right? Like it was just
Lost the abs.
right? Like we're talking about with your sister. Like it was, I would have not booked J-Lo nothing. Let me tell you that.
Hilarious.
And I was like, do I want to, like, it's a lot choreographing and sweating and teaching, and, you know, do I want to come back to it? And it wasn't dancing that I missed. It was the energy in the room. It was the relationships, the connection with my students and my peers. When you're in that room, it doesn't matter if you're good or not. The energy is unlike anything you've ever experienced. It's like being in the front row of Coachella when your favorite artist comes out. But I'm not the artist. Like, we are all the artist, right? It's collective energy. I'm just guiding it in the right direction. But it's people yelling for each other and supporting each other and being blown away watching each other.
I love when the crowd reacts and they're like, oh,
yeah. It's
Yeah.
It really is just like the movies, like when you watch, you know, Step Up or whatever, and they
Yes.
have that scene,
Step
and it's
Up,
like
High Water.
the underground battle
Yeah.
scene. That's real. You know, I mean, that not that exact moment, but that energy is real. That's what I saw the movie You Got Served.
That movie is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What
a time.
That was when I decided. I was like,
You're like, let's
I'm
go.
dancing.
Yeah.
Like, look at these dudes.
They were so cool. Was it in that movie where one of the battles where he does the backflip in front of the other guy, like right alongside him?
Yeah.
It's the greatest moment.
Yeah. And they just had they would come out in these formations and like doing these grooves and the energy is insane. And I got the chance to, you know, become friends with some of the choreographers from that movie. And I got to like ask them about the stories behind it. And it's incredible. Like I think anyone that is passionate about something has that one thing that inspired them
got them into it.
And you know, there were a lot of music videos, a lot of artists, a lot of things, but when I saw You Got Served, I was like, get me on well, I was gonna say a plane, but I couldn't afford it. I was more like, get me in my 2-door Honda and let me drive 4 days.
Honda Civic, if I
Honda
recall
Civic
correctly.
Baby blue.
It's fun when I have friends on and I do all this research. Like,
yeah, you really do the research. I gotta give it to you.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's just really funny when it's friends and I'm like, yeah, I know a lot about you now.
Yeah.
Like, don't know if it goes both ways. It's so funny. But I mean, you guys have so much out there. So, okay, I gotta roll back to Amazing Race really fast. Just a few questions that I like have to ask about the show. If you don't mind me asking, how much money do you actually take home after taxes within California?
All right, so prize is $1 million.
Right. Split it by two.
Split by two because it's you and your partner.
Right,
500K. I think it was around 270.
Okay.
So it's like 40, 45% tax.
So it's a lot, but I thought it was like 60 or something percent. So that's quite
Yeah. I mean, that was at a time too where I was still, you know, YouTube was going well. Like but I can't monetize most of my content because of music copyright claims, right?
Song things.
So like a lot of times people come up to me and be like, bro, you must have made like 4 million last year off YouTube alone. And I'm like, I tried 4 cents.
You're like, no.
Yeah. No. I mean, it comes back to me in many other ways.
Right,
you know,
of course.
Brands and tours and all of that. But so, you know, to me, like that was a ton of money at the time as a dancer and stuff. So, you know, it wasn't like I had a lot of other income stacking up to make the total, too high.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really changed my life in a lot of ways. It gave me some freedom to figure out what I wanted to do. It allowed me to invest into crypto for the first time. And, you know, it was really, really great. But the California taxes, man, they're no
it's
joke.
fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that that season after that season that it really helped in terms of your recognition, like your fame and your following and things like that? Or did it not have as much of an impact as you would have expected?
I would say it almost had zero impact.
Because it's funny that you say that because I kind of assumed it did because it's so disconnected from everything else, right?
Yeah.
It's like so separate. It's not like you're growing as a dancer on there.
Yeah. And I also didn't think it was going to have much of an impact, but I remember like people and even CBS being like kind of thinking like, wow, like this is gonna be great for you guys. Like, I remember thinking like, I don't think one person that's a fan of The Amazing Race cares about Rihanna dance videos on YouTube. Maybe one.
I think maybe one
or two.
Yeah.
But not a big crossover.
Yeah.
You know, it's not huge. But I'll tell you what it did make a big difference for is the people that watch The Amazing Race are the kind of people that I want to connect with. They love travel. They love art. They're creative. They explore. They take risks. And my audience on YouTube is a little bit more like high school, college, enjoys dance, likes pop music. And I didn't really have a way of connecting with that audience. And so for me, even though they didn't necessarily follow me on social media, still the like, hey, you were on Amazing Race. And like the people that love that show, it's really been amazing. And it kind of takes me out of the influencer bubble and the background dancer bubble a little bit too, because how many people can say that they won, you know, realistically, Amazing Race, Big Brother, Survivor, those are kind of like the shows, reality shows.
I'm dying to win Survivor and The Amazing Race. I'd love to win them all. I couldn't
do Survivor.
I think I could. I think I would just want to try. Like I would just want to see. I know it would be so fucking hard, but when you're there, you're already there. May as well just finish it. I don't know. I think it would be so incredible. I went to a wilderness program when I was 13, so I lived in the woods for 3 months.
Wow.
I mean, as a punishment, but now I would do it as choice for the chase for the million.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so much more than the money, like going on something like Survivor, The Amazing Race. It's such an experience.
Yeah.
Out of this world experience that you can't even really compare it to anything, to literally anything. It's so insane. So, okay, I don't know if do you know MTV's The Challenge? You know that show?
Yeah.
Have they called you at all to go on? Because they've been bringing on a lot of the CBS stars, and you're right in the age range.
I think so. To be honest, I'm not sure. I still get hit up a good amount.
Yeah.
By reality shows because of The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, The Amazing Race was my show.
Yeah.
That was it. Like, I don't watch Survivor. I don't watch Big Brother. I don't watch The Challenge.
You should
I
watch
know
Survivor.
of them. I know, but
So
like,
fucking good.
it's great. Like, I've seen them,
Makes
right?
me cry watching.
But like, Amazing Race was like, I did not miss an episode. I
Yeah.
knew every challenge. I knew every second of that show. And I got the chance to go on my dream show. I got the chance to win my dream show. I don't want to do anymore. Like, I'm good. You know, like, I'll do other shows, but as far as like competition reality show, it's like winning the Super Bowl and being MVP, and you're like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna retire.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like that. There aren't really any that, in my opinion, just because I'm such a super fan of The Amazing Race, stand up to it. So I left with like the best experience, and you know, it's insane the stuff that they're able to pull off. I mean, within a month span, I like jumped off of a high rise in LA, took helicopters, like we jumped off of a cliff on a hang glider thing and whatever that's called, paragliding in Chamonix, France. Like, and we're in the mud volcanoes in Colombia, and it's just like
so cool,
insane stuff like that you could never, even with money, you can't necessarily do, because they're able to get permits and opportunities because the countries want the publicity.
Right.
So they're willing to let you do things that the public would never be able to do. And just ridiculous stuff too. Like, at one point we were in Bali, and they had this thing where you had to get like 100 coconuts and 6 chickens across a 1,000
and you
foot
guys had angry ass
bridge.
chickens too,
Oh my
because it was
God,
towards the end.
chickens were so mad.
I can't believe how quick she grabbed the chickens. I would have been so scared. Like,
well, I'm also like, you know, I'm like thinking of like
the weight of the coconuts and shit, right?
well, no, just like what is it? Not the SPCA, but like PETA. I'm like, how do you hold? I don't know how to properly. I don't want to disrespect the chicken or like, you know. But the wings are everywhere. And it was crazy. Yeah. I'm trying to wrangle this chicken.
Fucking crazy.
Balance like 12 coconuts. Like, you would never do that because it's terrible. It's torture. But
so cool.
So cool.
So the coolest kind of torture there ever was.
Can you imagine going to Bali with your friends and they're like, all right, guys, today, 100 coconuts, cross the bridge, 7 chickens, ready, go. Like, you'd be like,
and you're like, what?
You're like, I thought we were...
Pina colada?
No. Okay, the actual coconuts. Got it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so Bali's where you did the cliff jump as well. And I know you landed on your ass. I did the same thing in Thailand, cliff jumping. And I actually have had a injured tailbone since then.
Really?
Yeah, it like fucked it up.
Did I say that, or did you just notice?
No. I saw when you landed, you were like, "Oh, that really hurt," because they clipped back between you and I think Tyler also landed right on his ass, and he's like, and I kept thinking, "Oh, I've had that feeling. It's the worst feeling ever."
Oh my God, it's terrifying.
It's fucking like concrete, man.
Yeah, it was because it was so windy.
Yes.
And so I jumped off straight, but the wind just angled me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thought I broke my back when I hit the water. I was like, I just remember as soon as I landed, the guy comes over with the jet ski and he's like, you good? You good? And I said yes. But in my mind, I was like, no, I'm not good. I felt like my limbs detached from my body. It was really, really scary. And it was kind of like like you can get like a stinger in football where it's like a temporary, like not like a paralysis, but everything goes tingly and you just like,
you're like, fuck.
It's really scary. Yeah, I haven't cliff jumped since then.
No, honestly, I haven't either since then, because that scared the shit out of me too. My feet like flung all the way up.
Oh, wow.
And I landed like flat on my ass. It was like so, you don't realize how bad it is, but I also was like, no, I'm cool, I'm good.
Yeah,
like,
and then you're like, am I good?
And I was not fucking good at all. But my friend was so scared too, so I had to be like, I'm good. And she was up there. It took her like 30 minutes to jump. I was like, don't worry, Ton, you got this. Like I was fine. But climbing down was, I think, even more dangerous at that point, which is the scarier thing. The only exit is to jump.
Yeah.
That's the worst. So did you feel like you had an advantage when the final challenge was in LA and you'd been living there already for a bit?
No, not really.
Not really.
Direction wise, it didn't. The advantage that I had is that I studied the show. That's really it. Like, people hit me up all the time and are like, yo, I auditioned. Like, what's your tip? I'm like, watch every episode.
Yeah.
That's it. Because you're not going to know the challenges, but it does follow patterns, So did you watch the finale?
Yeah, I watched. I'm now binged a couple other because I used to binge that show all the time. I loved it, and then when I saw you run, I was like, oh, I gotta watch that again. And I think I even watched your season years ago, and now I'm binging other seasons. I'm back on 27. Like I'm just fucking
such a good show.
Such a good show. It's unbelievable.
And it's coming back. They're doing like season like 34.
I'm applying with my friend Kareen. We're gonna be in Portugal together in July, so I'm like, let's film a fucking audition tape. Why not? We would crush that show. Yeah, it's
I'll on the side, I'll give you some tips and training.
Absolutely.
But like, here's the thing: you get to the finale, and you never know what the finale challenge is going to be, but you know that it's going to be memorization, right? So like the preparation that we did, right? You're allowed to take a little notebook, and so throughout the entire season, every day when we finished a challenge, we wrote down everything we did, every person we talked to, the city, the food we ate, the language they speak, the currency, the person that sent us off, the person that was at the mat, at the finish line, what they said. Like, I had a full notebook of every single thing, right? And then on every flight or every train, all we did was just go through it and test each other on memorization.
Nice.
The whole way. Like, nice. Crazy people, right? And so, and the only reason we knew that the only time that was going to come in handy was the final challenge. Yeah. But we knew that it was going to be one of us was going to get put up for it, and it was going to be some memorization about the entire season and what happened. And so we were like, if we make the finale, we will win. Like, all we have to do is survive until the finale. And we almost killed each other halfway through.
That shit cracked me the fuck out, to be honest. Like, some of those moments I was like, oh my God. I felt bad laughing too. I was like, Matt is dying, but I was like, I can't help it. This is just entertainment.
It's real. It's real. Like, you don't eat properly. You don't sleep a lot. And it's weeks, and you're in a foreign country, and you can't speak the language. And sometimes the cameramen like nudge you a little bit. They're like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" And you're like, "Don't talk to us." Like day 20 of being a zombie.
There was one moment when you guys were walking camels, I think, through the desert, and you were wearing a flannel, and she was like, "You're wearing a fucking flannel in the desert." I almost cried. I was like, "Why are you wearing a flannel?" I couldn't even control. I was like, holy shit, you're wearing a flannel in the desert. It was just the funniest line. It was so in passing, and it was and it's such a like indicative. That is literally a microcosm of just the energy that happens in The Amazing Race, because things get so frustrating when you're in that kind of exhausted, overworked, like drenched, uncomfortable, dirty laundry like phase. It's so the funniest things come out, like, because it really brings you to your root core. Yeah. Stress is a factor. How'd you keep so calm? Yeah.
They said, you're going to Dubai. I'd never been to Dubai at the time. I was like, oh, we land. You're going to walk a camel through the desert in the 120 degree for 4 hours. I was like, you brought us to Dubai for this?
That is the challenge I would have chosen, though, not the race the camels.
Yeah.
Who thought they could beat camels on bikes?
Cycling, right?
Are you out of your mind?
Raced camel?
I would never be able to beat a camel on a bike.
No.
There's no chance in hell.
Both challenges sucked. But
you got snacks at the end of yours.
Yes, we did.
Which is what I would have chosen.
I mean, always choose the snacks. Come on. Yeah, it was crazy. It was not easy to maintain composure. That's for sure.
Well, you did really well though in that. I felt like you really had a cool head the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, most of the people that get kicked off the race that get eliminated, it's not for not being the most physically fit. It's not for being too dumb to figure out it's normally a temporary split bad decision.
Yeah.
It's that. It's losing your composure, arguing, getting crazy, and then doing something out of spite or not making the right decision, So I try to just always be like, we can have our differences, we can fight whatever, but like, let's also win.
Yeah, let's win. Let's win.
I don't care what it is, but like, you could be right, I could be right, but whoever we think is more right, that's what we're going with. It's not about who's right.
Yeah, it's about what's going to be the actual best. Like, let's put our egos aside. We're here to fucking win. Yeah. Completely. And it's always people that get out. It is that small split decision of not reading the directions properly, missing to take this from there, or, thinking you have to go on that route when it's really right there. Like, there's a lot of those moments on the show, and it's when I think if you've studied it like you have, then you do see it. I didn't realize how big of a fan you were, so it does make sense that you were so educated. I was like, damn, he's just so good at this.
It's life lessons too, right?
Yeah.
Like the amount of times that even I was doing this NFT, like it was like in order to get the drop, you had to solve this riddle, right? And the second line of the riddle said something like, none of the lines below this matter except for like line number 16, right? I was the only one that read that because everyone else was just trying to figure it out
the whole thing.
You know, and they're all super smart, like way smarter than me. But one of the things I learned on The Amazing Race is don't try to take shortcuts. Make sure you do it right the first time. And I just happened to be like, all right, let me read this. Like, I'm not going to outsmart these people anyway, so they're going to beat me to the punch. So let me just take the time. And I ended up getting it.
Nice.
And they were like, how did you do that? I was like, The Amazing Race, baby.
You're like,
you know?
I just read the directions.
Sometimes it's not about being the best. It's just about not fucking up.
It's very
Some
fucking
solid advice for
very
you.
fucking true. What was the strategy for picking roadblocks? Because you guys have to pick them right after that little intro, right? Like, who wants to...
You don't get a lot of information. It is a little bit of a toss up. We knew that obviously like anything super physical, we wanted to put me forward because I'm tall.
But how could you guess what's physical and stuff? Were there kind of hints?
It's not really.
Could
not
you look
really.
around to see if people were doing it around you to see?
No, it was always far enough away that you wouldn't know. You just kind of had to go off of the words, you know, and there were times where we messed up, you know, but like in Georgia, it was a thing with like the Georgian ballet, and it said something, I can't remember what the clue is, but it sounded artistic in the vibe. And so we were just like, you know, and anything that was like heights or anything that sounded physical, we put me forward. Like, you know, the difference between winning and losing really was putting me for the last challenge, because it was the one, it jump off the skyscraper in LA.
Yeah, and catch the thing.
And grab
I would
the
have
clue,
never been able to jump that far.
And she's 5'4".
Yeah, no
like
way.
It would have taken her so many tries, like it did the
Other teams, yeah.
girl, the mom, that they put her forward, you know. And so some of it is calculated guesses, you know. And that was kind of crazy. After the show, they said that they test all of the challenges, right? Many times with different people. And they said in the test, nobody got that the first try.
Oh,
Not
what?
one person. They said they didn't think it was possible.
So they were expecting it to take longer.
Yeah, they wanted you to like
you know,
fail, and then they
struggle.
move it a little closer,
Yeah.
and you have to come back up. And they were like, when you got it the first time, we were like, that's not supposed to happen.
We were like, damn. But
So
that's pretty
it's-
impressive.
To explain for anyone that didn't see it, they hang a clue, the next clue, or like a envelope out off the edge of the building, right? And it's like a wooden plank, like literally like Peter Pan,
like a pirate plank.
walk the plank off of a 40-floor skyscraper, and you're hooked into like a bungee cord. But this is the most stressful part of the entire show. They get you up there, and then everyone has a mandatory, it's like a 10-minute safety check.
Okay.
So to make sure everything, because we're rushing and racing,
Yeah.
they don't want you jumping off a building and like you're not clipped in right.
Fucking so scary.
So when you get up there, they start a timer, like, you know, like, all right, make sure you're good or whatever. So you're standing there waiting, like looking around, you know, like, you know, and basically, yeah, like it's pretty terrifying.
Wait, you're standing there on the plank?
Yeah.
For that 10 minutes? Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
To make sure, and it's, you know, fair. And they,
Right, of
obviously,
course.
like, because people always ask me, they're like, when you're jumping off buildings, like, is it just like rushed? Like that sounds dangerous. I was like, no, like
Yeah, that does sound
that would be
fucking dangerous.
terrifying.
That show is. There were some challenges on that show that have been really scary. Like the canoeing with crocodiles was on one season, which was like insane.
Yeah. Thankfully, no dangerous animals. I mean, it's like I said, it's an amazing show.
Yeah.
To this day, like,
amazing. The Amazing Race. Okay, some quick fires before I let you off, because I'm really just curious about this. Do you still eat Swedish fish with your pizza? Do you still pair your pizza with Swedish fish?
How did you find that?
It's a fucking gross fun fact. That was during one of your interviews at VidCon like 10 years ago or something. I don't even remember. What, was VidCon around 10 years ago?
It could have been. I don't know. It's been a while.
Have you matured out of that?
I forgot about that.
Oh,
to be honest.
so you have matured out of it.
But I do eat both of those things. Maybe not the same.
But not together.
But now I kind of miss it. Now
Now you're about to. Are you about to go
Yeah,
pick
it
up
might
some?
have to be a little late night snack next time.
Oh, hilarious. Also, do you still snowboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. Not too often, maybe once a season.
Okay.
But I became really good friends with Shaun White about 5 or 6 years ago.
How did that happen?
He was doing a reality show called Obsessed.
Okay.
And he was kind of the host of it and the face of it. And it was about people that were known for one thing but had a secret obsession. And so they hit me up about coming on, and they were like, this is amazing. Like, nobody's ever obsessed with snowboarding. It's always like, I'm obsessed with wine, or like, I'm obsessed with vinyl CDs, something random. And, they're like, it happens to be that Shaun's the host. And I'm like, okay, I'm super down. I want to snowboard with Shaun. And they were like, absolutely. Like, that'd be great. So I hadn't snowboarded in about 8 years at the time.
Damn. And then you're
I stopped because I couldn't risk
White.
hurting myself,
Of course.
Starting in dance and everything. And yeah, so my first time back on the snow 8 years was with Shaun, my, basically childhood idol, because I grew up a competitive snowboarder.
Oh, you were competitive? Yeah. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
until about like 18, 19, I was really serious about it. But
nice.
again, being in Virginia, I realized as I was traveling and competing, I was like, oh, you guys are good. It's like same with dance. Like,
right, yeah.
I was Virginia good at something else, snowboarding.
I'm big in Virginia,
Yeah, exactly. Didn't work in snowboarding either, unfortunately. But yeah, long story short, I came on. Shaun was like, like, I heard you used to ride. And I was like, yeah, it's been a while, And
cool.
I'm thinking, like, I'm just going to go out and have a chill day. By the end of the day, me and Shaun were doing side-by-side front flips off of like a 30-foot jump.
Fucking nice.
And I was like, he's like, do you still have any tricks? Like, what do you got? And I was like, I used to be able to do like front flips and this and that. He's like, oh, we should do side-by-side. And I was like,
sick.
Hadn't done a flip on a snowboard in a long ass time. But what are you going to say no to doing a flip with Shaun White? I was like, I will die before I don't try this. And we did it once. I was terrified. Almost like I landed and slid out. And I was like, one more. Of course, bro. Ran it back. Still to this day, one of my favorite videos that I've ever taken.
That's fucking sick. That's on YouTube right now?
It's on Instagram. It was only like a 10-second clip. I guess I could re-upload it as a short.
Can you, re-upload that? That's re-upload it. You should re-upload it as a short. That would probably do really well.
Yeah, it's iconic.
That is fucking sick. Well, that feels like the perfect place to end this episode off on. We are at 2 hours, 10 minutes. Thank you so much, Matt, for being here for so long. Holy shit. I really appreciate you coming on. Quickly, just look at that camera and give us your handles. I think that they're just all Matt Steffanina. But
yeah, they're Matt Steffanina. It's a little hard to spell, but if you type Matt Steff, Steff, it usually comes up.
It's not as hard to spell as like Flosserdamus, which I find much harder to spell.
Yeah, Steffanina is technically pretty phonetic. Like
Yeah.
As it sounds as it's spelled, but you'd be surprised.
I was always worried I was pronouncing it wrong.
You get a lot of like Steffianios, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of extra letters you added in there.
It became Italiano.
Steffanina, it is Italiano.
Oh,
come on now.
Italiano.
Yes.
Virginia Italian.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Matt. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.